Please don't hear any of this, Brad.
And Dad's like, I got the fuck out of there. I was like, oh man, you didn't partake?
Do you fear death?
Oh, one of the greatest lines of all time.
I could have chopped it. I could have chopped it.
Trumpinator 2020.
Making me 30 sides of red sauce.
Listened to so much. Are you
That needs two, motherfucker.
All right, episode 84. Emily,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
I've
me.
been wanting to have you on for a long time.
Yeah.
You're a wild lady. You know this?
Oh, I have my moments.
You have your moments. I want to talk about what you do for a living. This is really cool, and how you got into dance
Okay.
and what you do.
This actually is a pretty good story.
I bet it is.
So-
Let me get this a little closer to you.
Okay.
You don't have to.
That better?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're fine. That's good.
Okay. So, I had back surgery when I was like 12 years old, and I was missing a bone, and they had to do a fusion.
Missing a bone.
Yeah,
Like
well-
born that way, or?
Yeah, they could. I mean, they did X-rays. They didn't see it anywhere in my. They couldn't see it in the X-rays, and so it still is like that. But my spine has slipped off my sacrum 2 inches, and my parents started noticing because like I played baseball and I'd be like running
Really?
funny, and they're like, "What? Stand up straight. What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. I can't." So they took me to the doctor, took me to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor was trying to pop it back in place. Which, looking back, that's horrifying. My
Yeah.
spinal cord had stretched 2 inches. And so I had to have like immediate emergency fusion surgery
At how old?
at I was like 12.
Oh my,
Mm-hmm.
that's terrifying.
So terrifying. So I was in a body cast for 6 months. Yeah.
Body cast?
Yes, a body cast, and it was like right at those
What do you mean by bot? Like what was?
like from here to my knees. So I was at a permanent bend like this. So
Oh
so
my
if I
gosh.
went to the bathroom, I'd be standing up, I'd have to like fall back to the toilet.
Oh
which
my god, that's
yeah.
awful. For how long? 6 months?
6 months, and I was
Wow.
I always had like a stick with me to carry around an itch and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it was like those prime years, like where you're like girls are like
Yeah.
getting puberty, and I'm sitting here in a
Absolutely.
body cast looking.
Yeah.
Oh, can we swear on here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so so that happened. So I come out of that, and my mom was like, I had taken dance and stuff like that, and I loved to dance, and we were always putting on shows and musicals and stuff for my parents.
So how many siblings are there of you? Like how many? You have
So
brothers,
there's
sisters?
me, my sister, and my brother.
There's 3 of you.
Yeah, but we can get to that in a second because
Yeah.
that's a different story about. But yeah, there's 3 of us, so we would put on shows and stuff, and then my mom was like, "Well, can I put her in ballet to help with her alignment?"
Okay.
And so after they took the cast off, because I was still kind of hunkered over, they're like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So I got into ballet, me and my sister, and we just fell in love.
Right.
We were really responsible, and the teacher loved us, and so we took dance with her for a couple of years, and then she wanted to move on to the next stage of her life, and she asked if we wanted to buy the business, and I was 15 and my sister was 14.
Wow.
I know. And so we went to the bank and brought our mommy and daddy, and we signed the papers and bought a business.
Are you serious?
That summer I turned 16. So it was I was 15, about turned 16. So yeah, and
So
this
you've
was
had this going on for all the way back to then. That's really
1998.
special.
1998 is when we bought it.
Crazy.
And so we really didn't know what we were doing at the time because we lived in Berryville, right
Yeah.
by Eureka, small
very
town.
familiar with Berryville, yeah.
Yeah, so small town, great town. I love the people there. We still have a studio there. We sold it a couple years ago, though, but after just having babies and going back and
Yeah.
forth, we got a lot, so we sold it. But it's still there, and it's still beautiful, and there's still lots of great dancers there. And but so anyway, we did that, and then we were like, well, we better this is before internet. We couldn't YouTube how to teach things. So we had a subscription to a dance teacher magazine, and in the back they had here's dance teacher conventions, so you can go and learn about body alignment and how to teach the proper way to do this and how to teach that, because it's a small town and not a lot of great teachers coming through there. So that's what we did from the time I was 15 and a half, and my sister was 14. My parents would travel and they take us and drop us off with our sack lunch at these big, huge dance teacher conventions, and everybody would be like, "You're in the wrong place." And we're like, "No, we're in the right place." And we'd have our little sack lunch, and we're with the best dance teachers in the entire world.
I bet.
And now we know it, but at the time we didn't know because there was no internet. And
Sure,
sure. So we learned that way, and we still do that. We've been doing that for so long, and we bought we opened a studio up here in 2005 in Fayetteville, 2005. So.
I was one in Johnson.
Yeah. Well, no.
Or was
First it was in Fiesta Square.
Oh, okay.
And then we moved. We had this weird partnership with a cheer thing for a year, and it was not a good thing.
Yeah.
So then we moved back to Johnson. We moved to Johnson, and now we're in the mall.
Now you're in the mall.
Yeah.
So,
Northwest Arkansas Mall.
Well, plug it. What? How can people
Yeah.
sign up for this stuff?
We have a website, elitedancestudios.com. Right now we're not enrolling because we only have a couple months until our big. We put on a huge recital. We rent the Springdale Performing Arts Theater. So Julia came and worked it last year. She came and helped wrangle the dancers backstage, and so that was really nice. And so we're not enrolling people now, but we have ballet, jazz, tap, hip hop, musical theater is a really big thing at our studio. The kids love to sing and dance and do the acting and stuff. And also new is we partnered with the Breaking Habits crew, which is a breakdancing group or a crew in Fayetteville. They've been here as long as we have.
Really?
Yeah, and so I know all of them all through the years, and so we're like, you guys should teach this. And so we finally have a little breakdancing, a little mini crew, and they're so cute, and they
Wow.
I know, it's so good.
So what a unique opportunity to get paid for what you love doing. There's not very many people.
No, I think of that every day.
Yeah, what a blessing.
I think that's why I'm just kind of permanently in a good mood.
Yeah.
Because even when I get sad, I'm like, oh, look what my work is like. It is exhausting. Being a teacher is exhausting, because I don't just teach dance. I would say that's probably the smallest aspect of my job.
Yeah.
Especially lately, it's a lot more like therapy and paying attention to the kids' needs and stuff like that, because it's, there's a lot going on with kids these days. There's a lot. I love phones and I love the internet for stuff like this and for
promotional stuff. It's fantastic.
And I'm like, oh, what kind of tree is that? And I have an app where I can look up the bark. I love it.
Yeah.
But for kids their minds aren't fully developed, and so there's a lot of issues we see with that. So it is a hard job in that aspect that I take it so personally, and I don't make very much money, but it is something I love and I believe in, and I truly think we're doing something really good and special, and we build bonds with kids. I still am in touch with almost all of my old students.
Yeah, that's really special too.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that coaching. When I went into coach football last year, it was because of Walt, and I saw some things I might be able to help with. And I didn't think you'd end up, getting close to these kids and really rooting for them and watching them develop.
These bonds, you build these bonds that are and even though I don't know how, are you still coaching?
Well, he'll be in 7th grade next year, so that'll be the coaching staff. But if Theo plays, I will coach.
Okay. Yeah, you'll find the longer you're going to build these bonds, and years down the road, you're going to see them at the store. They're going to be grown up. They might have a baby, and you're going to be like, oh my God.
Well, I just had
Coach Brad.
2 of my old high school coaches on recently. I had Coach Morgan on, who had been there since, I want to say, how long had he been there? 30 years, I think, before he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And then Coach Harper came on. He started my senior year, and he's been there ever since. And, of course, Farmington went to a state championship this year. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to hear that story, what's that like, and what's Farmington, how's football changed in this area since the 2000s. It's a really, really cool conversation. But and those guys were really instrumental in my life. They were role models that I looked up to and respected, and I've always thought of them very fondly, and to have an opportunity to sit down and talk to them was really special.
I need to go back and watch those ones. I've been trying to keep up on your podcast because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be on it. I'm excited.
I'll tell this story if Coach Harper watches this. He was ex-military and he's a coach.
Oh,
so I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get 2 hours out of this guy. I'm like, just very, and he was great.
That's awesome.
He just so. Yeah, that's a really good episode.
I
one of my
bet it
favorites. Him and Coach Morgan, both great guys. Coach Morgan plays guitar too, so we did a little jam before.
Yeah.
So we had that as well. But yeah, it is a really special thing to to have those, and I'm sure these people look
Yeah.
at you as a a mentor and somebody who
Yeah.
changed their lives in some way, and that's
It's
special.
hard. It's like being a parent, because like when you're a parent, you love your kids, you want to give them the best, but not always, like sometimes not giving them what they want is what's best. So that's tricky,
Yeah.
and sometimes we have to play. So that's why I'm glad I have my sister, because we have like we don't like intentionally do good cop bad cop, but like if one of us is like, that was not an appropriate way to act in class, we're gonna have to have or like, what's going on, we're gonna have to bring in the parent and stuff. It's good that we kind of balance it out. It's nice to have that balance of
So
that. So
you didn't find that the business aspect of it lessened your enjoyment of dance any?
yes, the business aspect 100% lessens my love of dance.
Yeah.
Because when, like, as an artist,
Yeah.
that like if you've got like 4 hours to sit and just like dream up a song or think of lyrics, like that's the same for dancers. It's like,
Yeah,
if
I
I've
bet.
got 4 hours to listen to music and
Choreograph.
yeah,
or
create a
yeah.
concept and choreograph and costume and stuff, that's great. But I'm sitting here like responding to emails and like, oh, we forgot to pay this bill, we've got to pay this bill before this
Finances, all
day.
that
Yes,
shit,
all that.
yeah.
Oh, so and so's behind on their bill, we got to work out a payment plan, and that's constantly, we deal with that a lot. And
Yeah, I
so
bet.
that 100% takes away from I would say the fun of it, not necessarily the love of it, but it's like, I want to just like,
That's a good way to put it. It takes away the fun, not the love.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, because when I was playing music right after high school, I mean, we were touring around, we were doing it, and it became a job.
yeah.
And
Yeah, the booking and the
yeah, and the
it just-
travel and being
yeah.
away from home and
The
not making much
logistics,
money,
yes.
logistics and
They
the gas.
don't make
yeah,
much money.
It was it lessened my enjoyment of it. I still
Yeah.
loved writing and that aspect.
Yeah, you still
of it.
love the music, but you're
Yeah,
like,
but the
I'm
business
not
side of
crazy
it is
about-
just bullshit, and I hated all of
is.
it.
How big does it, like, I'm curious with the band, because I have a lot of friends that are musicians, and some of them get to a place where then they get a manager, and that seems to take care. Is that like do you have to get like a certain amount of followers, or?
Well, I mean, it just depends. We had a bad situation with the manager. We had a manager back in the 90s who basically was robbing us, who was stealing from us. And so, it ended up ending the whole band is a long story on its own. But,
Yeah.
you really got to be able to trust these people. Yeah, he was getting us
Yeah.
great shows. He was getting us in front of national acts. I mean,
Good.
really took us to the next level. And he had seen us playing, locally, and
Yeah.
was a guy that did that kind of stuff, and just approached us, said, hey, I can get you these shows and 15% and all that. Sounded great. But, yeah, it ended up being a squirrely deal, kind of shady deal that we ended up getting out of. But yeah, I mean, managers can definitely help, and they take that business aspect off of it for you.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth it if you can find one that you trust.
Open up some free space, and
Yeah.
then you got like, just like writers, we get like I get choreography block, especially if there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
or if like there's a lot of tension. Sometimes it's just silly, but like around full moons, my classes are buck wild, and they are loud and rambunctious and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, there's a full moon tomorrow. So when there's a lot going on, sometimes it's like hard to even think of like a dance step. I'm like, what's gonna come next? So yeah, definitely that part. We actually are we're wanting to have somebody like do like our management stuff. Like at the end of the day, we really have to do it, because like you said, who can you trust to, nobody runs your business like you run your business, kind of
Sure.
thing. So, but we also would like to have somebody that maybe at the front desk that is like, right now we just kind of have our teachers like rotating and stuff. We kind of have like we have a wonderful faculty, and we all just kind of rotate jobs, but it'd be nice to have like one person that does all that stuff. So
Yes.
that will take a little work off
Yeah,
of it
it's
for us.
hugely advantageous to have that connection if you have somebody you can trust,
Yeah.
because it lets the artist be the artist.
Yeah,
You said something
exactly.
that resonated with me a minute ago. You said, just having a 4-hour block of time to just think it through.
Yeah.
Right. So I did an exercise recently where I met a friend recently, Tracy Hughes, who plays guitar, and she's a little bit older than me, but she's not really written songs before.
Mm-hmm.
She's very talented, but she's just starting to write. And so she was asking about the process and how I write and what my process is, and I was like, well, I've never documented it before. I'll just
Yeah.
film myself writing the song, because it's an ugly mess. I mean, half of it's shit. You keep working it, and then you finally, I like this. Here's the direction you go in it,
Yeah.
and just kind of recording the process from start to finish. So, what is your process like artistically when you're, I mean, I don't know anything about dance whatsoever. So as an artist, like, what is your process for?
I think it's a lot similar to music. Most of my best ideas, like, I don't know what your sleep schedule is like, but most of my best ideas come to me like really late at night, like after I'm home from work and I'm, the boys are in bed and I'm like got my glass of wine and I'm sitting in bed and listening to music, or I'll watch, shows and stuff, and I'm like, oh, we should do something like this, or
So
honestly,
you find inspiration from
just
certain things?
anything. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times what I'll do is I hike a lot, and so I'll go on a hike, and not that the hike gives me inspiration, like I don't want to do a dance about trees or, anything like that, but it just kind of like releases that, like this thing in my mind that go, like think of all the things you could do. So yeah. So like, or like I listen to a lot of music. I have music running like on my phone almost all the time. Like I turned it off when I came in here because I just have it going all the time, because you never know when a certain song is going to hit you when you're driving past something or when you're talking to something, and you're like, oh, this would be a great idea. So then you're like, okay, then you start thinking like, how many people am I thinking for this piece? And then you start, kind of blocking out like formations, and then you start thinking about moves that would go good with it, and then you start thinking about costumes that would go good with it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, what
There's
age?
a lot involved that
There's
goes
a
into
lot
it.
involved,
People I
yeah.
don't think appreciate that. I mean, even my dad, who's a musician, has been playing for years and years and years. He's playing with me and Walter now in a band, and so
I love that.
Yeah, he had never really played my music. He'd been around it before.
Yeah.
But, he said, man, I didn't realize how cool some of this stuff was. And he was listening to it until I learned to play it. And same with Walter. I was like, do you hear, like, the beats he's playing on these choruses? And he's like, I just don't listen to the drums,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of artistry.
Very layered.
That even
Lots of
artists
layers.
don't necessarily
Yeah.
appreciate because it's not in their wheelhouse. And so,
Yeah.
like you said, layers and layers. Are you able to visualize?
Yeah. Yeah.
That helps, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's the only way.
So you can see it in your head.
Yeah.
If you close your eyes and see these moves here and.
Yeah. And like you said, like some of it's shit, and I'll throw it out.
Yeah.
I'll come to class with this thing I think
Most
is a
of
great
it's shit.
idea. Yeah. Most of it is. I come to class, I'm like, I've got this great idea. Let's try this, girls. And we'll be trying this move. And I'm like, oh, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And then you scratch that.
But you have to do it
Yeah.
in order to
know
find
that
out,
it's
to know
shit.
what works,
Yes.
what doesn't
Yes.
work, what you like.
Yes. I'm
to
very.
find your style.
Yes. I'm very big on like failure is the best way to find the answer.
Agreed.
Like I am like, I don't have an ego when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, I was so wrong about that. Moving on.
Yeah.
We learned from that, because the thing is you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail at everything.
Absolutely.
And the more you fail, the better you get. So it's like
100%.
kind of sucks, but also awesome. Like how cool is that you get
Well,
to
I started looking at failures as wins.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know not to do that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, it is a win.
Yeah. If you look at it that way, it is moving you forward.
Yeah.
Your failures, as long as you learn from them and move on. But
there's nothing worse than being stagnant. So
right.
Keep moving.
So with dance though, there's so many different types of dances. You're playing all that space, right? It's not like you just do one type of dance.
No,
You're
I know.
playing in all that space.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Were you learning all these different styles?
Oh, that's a great question. So probably a lot of people don't know about this, but there are like big companies. Now there's a bunch of big companies that they put together dance conventions, and they will rent out huge hotels. Like we don't really have them around here because we don't have any hotels big enough.
Right.
The Embassy Suites and Rogers might be, but I've talked to a couple big companies and told them that we have that. I don't know if there's just not the draw, or if it's, it's a very expensive thing to do, but like we just got back last weekend. I was in Tulsa, and they pull people, like they'll pull teachers from like big studios there, like Broadway Dance Center, or like we got to work with somebody that choreographed Broadway musicals this last weekend. I forgot. I think he
Very
choreographed
cool.
Hamilton or something. I don't know. This was a new convention to me. I wasn't as familiar with it, but like we had, like I've taken class with Joe Tremaine, which doesn't mean probably much to you, but he was like Michael Jackson's dance teacher and helped him.
No shit.
Yes. I took dance from him.
Are you serious?
I've
That's
taken
crazy.
dance from people that choreographed and danced with Lady Gaga, Britney Spears, every famous person.
That's impressive.
I know. So the
cool.
dance world is really small, and so like you kind of get in, and like so these teachers will come. They fly them into Tulsa. They fly them into Birmingham. They fly them into Dallas. They fly them into, so the ones around us, those are Kansas City, St. Louis, they fly them into those places. And then so we go, and for the whole weekend from like 7 a.m. until like 5, we take classes with these people. So we take ballet, we take jazz, we take tap, we take musical theater, we take hip hop, we take sometimes ballroom, sometimes conditioning, so many different classes, partnering classes. I have never done breakdancing. Breakdancing is one that is not, they don't do, but so we get to take from the best of the best. And then that's how we've learned all of these different skills, is by getting to go. Also, my sister and I go to New York every year, and we go and we take classes, and we have since we were little. Like I think we were 18. Like we had to be 18 because we had to be old enough to like go by ourselves, but rent a hotel and stuff like that. But we go and we go for the summer. My sister had an internship at Broadway Dance Center, which is like the biggest dance studio there. She went there for a summer, and so it's a constant journey. It's kind of like the medical field. It's always changing, what they'll say one thing, and then 5 years later, they're like, oh, don't have your dancer prep like this, have them prep like that, because it's,
it's
throws
always
them out.
evolving.
Yeah, so it's always evolving. We're constantly learning that. But yeah, that's the convention site is really cool because you get a lot of exposure to those kinds of things. And then, but you have to, in this area, you pretty much have to travel. The Walton Art Center sometimes brings in master classes, and that's really cool because then you'll get to take, like, back in the day, a lot of cool ones. Like I did a mentorship program with Houston Ballet, and they really liked me. They offered me a job after that, and I would have had to move to Houston though, and I didn't want to do that. But
so did you grow up in Northwest Arkansas?
Yes, Berryville is where I grew up, and then I moved to Fayetteville in 2000.
Okay. So Berryville is where you started out.
Yeah, started there, but I always would come to Fayetteville. My boyfriend lived up here at the time, my baby daddy.
Yeah. So not just the music thing, the dance thing, but you're working with your sister.
Yes.
How special is that?
Special. Special and tricky. So, like, is it okay if I take my shoes off?
Absolutely.
So I can cross my feet?
Absolutely.
So working with family is so good because my sister is my best friend,
and y'all been doing this since you were teenagers.
Yes, and so like we
and
share.
now you're in your mid-20s. So you've been
doing
this for 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been a solid 10 years. Thanks. Okay, so my sister is my best friend, and she's my
awesome. That's beautiful.
It is really beautiful. But also, like, who do you fight with the most is your best friend and your sister.
Sure.
And so when it's your best friend and your sister and your business partner, so there's a lot of
certainly.
There's a lot of things but I would say for as much as we're together and as much as like we're a part of each other's lives, I would say our fights are so rare.
Yeah.
Like we've had a couple like disagreements on things, but to have like it's really the most amazing thing.
Yes.
My sister is like 1/3 of me. She's me, myself, and my brother, and so it's like I'm so close to her in every aspect, and I love her so much. So it's really cool to get to work with her. She is so fun. She's a hoot. She's the kind of person that, like, if you invite her to something, just get ready, because she's not gonna just like show up and like be at your thing. She's gonna show up and she's gonna have flingy glow things that spin and glow poi, and she's gonna glitter everybody, and there's gonna be music, and there's gonna be she's a hoot.
should have her on the podcast.
You should.
Ask her.
She came to work yesterday. She had this big like curly, like almost like afro wig, and these big like heart sunglasses and covered in glitter. And that's just how she shows up sometimes. You just never know. You have no idea.
That's fun.
She keeps life so fun, and
you're a fun person.
I've
fun
observed
you, around your kids, and I can't tell you how just impressed I am with the way you're raising those boys, and especially being a single mom, and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
and exposing them to so many things, and you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Same to you.
That's a beautiful thing.
I absolutely adore your family and the way you guys raise your boys, and I'll never forget, like, one of the first times Theo came over to my house, and he had a backpack, and I'm like, oh, how cute, he packed some stuff, and I'm like, what's in your bag, Theo? And he's just tiny and adorable, and he has this little cute face, and he opens it up, and it's all, like, razor-sharp knives and axes and, like, things I don't even know what they are, but are, like, dangerous tools. I'm like, oh, you precious little demon baby.
Troy got Theo
I
a
love it.
toolkit
I love
on his
it.
like 5th birthday, and he said, "Hey, there was a box cutter in there, and I took it out. I didn't know if you wanted him to have it." And I was like, "Throw it in there, man." He cuts himself. No,
Yeah.
not to do that again.
Yeah.
Well, these kids have been
See,
around
I
that
love
stuff.
that you raise your kids like that, though. Failure to win. So
Well,
I
there
love-
was a conscious decision behind that because people are pussies now. Like
Yeah.
nobody wants their kids
nobody
to
wants
have
to
any
get
risk,
hurt. Yeah.
right?
I know.
and that's dangerous
Yeah.
because they get to 18 and they've never been in a situation to have to deal with conflict
Yeah.
or danger or
Yeah.
any of these things,
Yeah.
and then it breaks them.
Yeah.
But when we were growing up in the 80s, I'm not saying our parents were necessarily better, but they let us have freedom.
It was so different. I remember
It was a different world.
I would walk up to the square and I'd walk up to the square and like go to the soda fountain, get a root beer float, and walk around with my friends. And like there was a picture of me laying down in the square, and I'm in the road, and you can see like the road signs. I'm like, and this is when we had like these kind of cameras, and I'm like, oh my god, if I got a picture of them developed and they was laying in the middle of the road, but I wouldn't freak out. But like part of me would want to. But it's funny you say that because my conversation on the way here today was Alex always buckles when he gets in the car, and my Max doesn't ever buckle, and he sits in that middle seat, which if something was to happen, he would fly through the window. He's so tiny.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Max, I'm not going to tell you to buckle one more time. If I look back and you're not buckled, I'm slamming on my brakes, and you're going to break your nose on this console.
Right.
And he's like, why? Why would you do that? And I was like, because, to save your life. He goes, how would that save my life? I was like, because next time it could be going through the windshield.
Yeah.
Which I know sometimes people think buckling is more dangerous because people have been killed in accidents with that.
They have.
So.
To me, it's just about the freedom of it. Don't tell me that I got to buckle my seatbelt. You know
well,
what I mean?
you're a grown-up. I wouldn't tell you could do whatever you want.
Well, I'm talking about don't. That just pisses me off. Like I don't need
Yeah.
the government inside my car. If
Well,
I
I
want to
do
get
hate
killed
the-
in a car
Yeah,
accident, I have the
exactly.
right to get killed. It's just like the
Exactly.
helmet law.
Yeah.
If you want to ride, with no helmet, that should be your right.
That is.
If you want to shoot heroin, you should be able to.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Legalize it.
Are you gonna
Tax it.
Yeah. I mean, people are gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah.
But tax it.
Tax it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
tax
all
it.
about legalizing everything.
Yeah, me too. Because I'm like, if I thought that it would, if I thought people would stop doing it and stop abusing it because it was illegal, I would be all for it. Because ideally, I would love for people to not need those substances and not need that. But they are gonna get it no matter what.
Exactly.
So tax it.
And it's going to be cut with chemicals and things that are going to kill you. So if
So
you had a safe, clean
legalize
way
it.
to distribute heroin to the masses,
Yeah. Okay.
we'd lose all productivity. But hey,
Hey. Well, I think that they
killed Lane Staley.
Oh, it's killed a lot of
Killed
people. A lot of
It's
people.
definitely jokes, people.
Yeah.
I do think it should be legal, but I
Well, I think if it's legal and people are buying it and they know it's coming from a safe source, and then that's all being documented, then you could see, all right, this person, this is not, I feel like there would be more. I think it'd be safer. I just feel like it'd be safer.
yeah.
So, it's kind of like the rules with kids. If you kind of like, all right, here's what could happen.
Yeah.
Be safe. In general, they make better
Educate
choices.
kids.
Educate them and tell them the risks, and like always let them know what the risks are. But they so people have told me things so many times, but until I did it myself, I didn't learn. And when you do it yourself, you're like, oh, that's why we don't do that.
Well, that's
or,
why
oh.
risk is good, because it allows kids
Yes.
to get hurt and say,
Yes.
man, I'm not going to do that again.
100%
Agree. You need to fail
Mm-hmm.
to learn from it. And I see parents, even when their kids are 4 years old, literally walking over them, hunched over,
Yeah.
like protecting them in this bubble. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, you're doing that kid a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be out. And
Well, the wild thing is like if you really want to protect your kids, like the irony I see in this is typically those helicopter parents are the parents that hand their kid an iPad or a phone when they don't want to entertain them.
Yep.
And to me,
You're
that
absolutely
is
right.
so much more dangerous.
Let's
than
talk
a
about this.
scrape or something. Okay.
Let's
yes.
talk about this, because
Okay.
this is something very, very serious to me, is social media.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, parents are lazy.
Yes.
Not all, but a lot of parents are lazy.
And
And
overworked.
it's real easy
Exhausted.
to just say, here,
Yeah.
just get on
It
this.
is easy.
But what it does is, and there's numerous studies on this, the dopamine hits from these quick, especially these quick videos. Now, I have no problem with Theo watching a 2-hour-long video of somebody taking an engine out and putting it back. Like, that's productive.
Great, yes.
But these, 30-second little clips and stuff where your mind needs that dopamine and you get addicted to it, and then you can't function outside of it. I know parents who let their kids just stay in the room all day on the screen.
I know.
And it's so unhealthy.
So unhealthy. And it gives them a very warped vision of what life is really like. And it gives them the feeling that they've had these experiences without actually having the experiences. It gives them, it can put fear if they watch something and that makes them scared about it.
Sure.
And it's like, well, that's not really scary, because Alex was telling me he was looking up how to, what was it? Like how to ask a girl out or something like that. I'm like, dude, stop looking that stuff up. What do you feel like you should do? Yeah. Or ask me. I'll tell you. No, I know. I am really brave. I'm really brave. But I feel like it's also like, I feel like if a girl asks out a guy's not going to be like wildly offended by it. He's going to be like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Whereas if a guy comes up and approaches a girl and she rejects him, I feel like there's a little bit more like it could be more damage to the ego.
There's a big. I have friends who are so terrified of the rejection that they never even ask, right? And they're lonely and they're miserable. And it's like, I wish I had somebody, but they're so afraid to even ask. It's like, man, I can't help you there.
Yeah.
You have to help yourself.
So I don't like him looking up that stuff, because it gives him a false sense. He's like, well, girls like a guy that's this, and girls like, and I'm like, there's so many different kinds of girls.
Well, every girl is different, so you can't generalize. And
exactly.
generalization is dangerous.
Very
it's dangerous.
dangerous.
In politics, it's dangerous in all these things.
It's so dangerous in everything.
Yeah.
It's like, because you can meet somebody like me, who I'm small, and I'm a dance teacher, and
you are small.
I come across.
It's you might not be able to see it on camera, but she's actually
I'm tiny. I'm
very
111
tiny.
pounds. I'm 5'3", and so it's like I'm tiny, and I come across, I get, a lot of people come across and think I'm very innocent, or things like that, which I am. So there's two sides of me. Okay.
I would not call you innocent, right?
Well, that's because you know me with your wife, and the other side. In dance class, I am 100% crystal clean, because I do think for kids, I want them to, I think that they need something pure. I don't want to.
Absolutely.
So I have two different standards. I think what people want to do as adults and in their free time is one thing, and I think what kids and how you are around kids is a totally different thing. Around my own personal kids, I will say swear words.
Oh,
when
absolutely.
we have the big
kids
talks.
cuss in kindergarten.
Yeah.
They hear the words. I never understood the
I never did either.
The freak out about language.
I didn't either. I would so much rather my kids say fuck than say that kid's fat or that kid's stupid. Because to me, I'm like, if you say something bad about somebody, that's a bad word.
Be a kind person.
Yes.
Who gives a fuck what you say? They're just words. If you just invented a word like kerblocken and said, this is the most hateful word ever, you're giving power to the word.
I
right?
know.
And that goes with anything. That goes with we give power to these things.
Yeah.
And if people just lighten up,
I know.
They're just words, man. And as long as, like you said, as long as they're not hateful or hurting anybody. And also, there are some words that are slurs that are not appropriate to say.
Oh no, we don't say the N-word.
Cussing.
They don't say the N-word in my house, and just because they
you
don't.
shouldn't be saying that at all. That's it's a racial slur. That's not appropriate. But
so not all words. It's not that they can say all words, but it's like in our house. It's also important to me because some people are wildly offended by kids cussing, and so I'm not at all. And so the first thing kids say when they come over to my house is like yesterday I dropped off Alex at the dance, and his friend tells his other friend, he's like, say fuck in front of her. You can say fuck in front of her. She won't even get mad. And the kid's like, and I'm like,
you don't
no, I'm not known. I know. I was like, I'm not known for that. I was like, listen, you guys are making it weird. I'm just saying, as long as you don't say anything mean in my house, you're welcome to express yourself how you want. And this is a safe place. And I'm not going to tell anybody, and you're not going to be in trouble for it. But you're also these are words that can offend people, and you need to know when. And how to use
when
them.
It's appropriate. So here's a direction I'll go with this. So we were talking about social media earlier.
Oh yeah, we need to cycle back.
It ties back into this.
Okay, good.
Part of the problem with social media, or even tablets or YouTube, whatever kids are watching, they're spending too much time on it. They don't have limits. Everything in moderation.
Yes,
You brought that
moderation,
up earlier.
yes.
You know, we have an hour a day rule. You know, and it's contingent on, are your chores done?
Yes.
Is everything done?
Exactly.
Right.
Priorities.
And you get an hour a day, and then now if we do family stuff together, that doesn't count. Like if we all watch shows together or plan together, that doesn't count. But also, the other dangerous thing is that parents don't know what their kids are watching.
I know.
And I am very cognizant of what my kids are watching. I make Theo watch it on my account so I can see the history. I know what he's watching. And then, because he respects me as his father, I can just gently say, like, why are you watching this guy? Like, he's not doing anything, like, it's just, you know, if it's something stupid that's just mind-numbing, I'll just, you know, I won't tell him not to watch it. It's just like, man, I don't understand what you see in this guy. And then, you know, and he just will kind of realize, that's not productive. And then he has found, I mean, you would not believe this kid's YouTube playlist. He's watching people build engines. He's watching these science shows.
He's watching. He's so cute.
He watches a lot of ballistics and shooting videos as well. But, you know, anything that if he's learning something, I am totally behind that.
100%.
It's the stupid, just TikTok kind of shit that is
that
awful
stuff
for the
so
brain.
Much.
But
and people can say whatever they want to say, and people are like, oh, "Guess what I heard?" And I'm like, "On TikTok." You realize I could get on and say anything I wanted, and it doesn't make it true. So
right, but when you go back to the cussing, like, I think parents just need to be more involved. It's like I told my kids, they're just words. You need to be aware that don't say them around people you don't know, like don't say them out in public.
Yeah, they don't say it in public.
And if you're gonna say it around us, it better damn well be funny.
Yeah.
Don't just say it to say it.
Yeah.
It's got to cook. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And be responsible with it, like a weapon.
Yeah.
You know, if for emphasis or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I walked by the kid's bedroom one time. I was walking upstairs, and this is the only snippet I heard was Theo saying to Walter, "No, I said that because you're a bitch." And I just kept walking. I was like, "Oh my God," you know. And they are appropriate with it, and they're respectful of it, and they don't say it. I said, you know, you don't ever go into somebody else's home.
No.
And, you know, you respect that, but in a private space, if it's funny or appropriate, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to, you know, just saying it to say it, that's not appropriate. But, you know, we did the soap in the mouth when they were young because that's what our, you know, I think.
That's what that generation did.
Yeah, that's the generation that did that. And plus, you don't want 2-year-olds getting out and saying that stuff.
Yeah.
But the whole freaking out about it, like, they're going to hear worse from me anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I've never thought cursing was a big deal.
No.
I mean, we were literally cussing in kindergarten. All kids are doing it.
Yeah.
Not all, but, like,
Plus, if you
it's
freak
happening.
out about that, then when something serious happens, you're gonna lose some of your credibility. Like
you
if you're
absolutely
if
lose
you're gonna be like
credibility.
blah blah, that's so bad. Then when something really is bad, and you're blah blah blah, it's so bad, you're gonna be like, well, you always say that.
Right.
You always say
well,
that.
that goes
so
over
bad.
goes to the authoritarianism thing and just controlling.
Yeah.
Some, you know, and this is on any spectrum of humanity. Anybody who seeks to control another person,
Yes.
it to me is
Creepy.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of parents do it. Like, they want their kids to be what they want them to be and they want their kids to live the lives they want them to live. You're going to go to this college. You're going to be this. You're going to play this sport because I did it. And they force their kids into these things. And then, shocker, your kid hates you 20 years later.
And, okay, so shocker, your kid hates you. And also, you have, like, suppressed their potential because they don't
100%.
You don't know who they are. You don't know, you know, who would have known your third one was going to be a pyro, knife throwing, you know, cart riding or the 4-wheeler and stuff like that. And then you've got your kids are also so incredibly different and special, and that's because you guys have cultivated an environment where they feel safe to be who they are, they feel supported to be who they are, and that's what's beautiful, and that's what I hate to see. So you'll see this nowhere more than dance competitions. You see those dance moms back there, and they are like living their best life through their kid on stage, and I'm just like, and that's like dance competitions, I think,
as long as the girls are enjoying it, or the boys, or whoever's dancing.
It's mostly girls. There's a couple boys.
Are there?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, what's the mix?
Oh, the ratio is probably 1,000 to 1, maybe.
Oh, really?
700 to 1.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like, if we go to a competition, it's rare that there's a boy, and if there is a boy, there's 1 to 2. So out of all the dances, so not many. I would like to see that change because I do think
Sure.
that there's a really strong like musical connection and like an accountability to a partner kind of connection. I think it's important, but also I get it because like dance studios aren't really, you know, they're not really tailored around boys. You know, they're more tailored to like to girls. Like I don't know why, but so our breaking program is great because that class is all boys. We have one girl in there,
Really?
but it's all boys, and then we have one girl in there. And she's like a little baddie. She has a backwards hat on and is always like breaking down with them, and I love it. So
Did I make this up that they had breakdancing in the Olympics?
they did
They did.
this year. It's gone now though
It's already gone.
because it was so bad.
Was it bad?
Well, okay, so no, it was amazing, but there was, I don't know if it's because of this one lady. So,
I've seen the clip of that lady. I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
so I don't know if it's because of her, but literally like before it was even over, they were just like, yeah, we're not going to have
I think
this.
that's the only way I heard about it was that went viral. That
Yeah.
one lady, which
She was somebody that loved the art of breakdancing,
Yeah.
but she was somebody that had like taken breakdancing, is from what I understand. Because I was like, I had to pull her up because I was like obsessed. I was like, how did she make it here? Because in my hometown, there's so many good breakdancers. I
so
was like,
talented people.
I was like, how do you get to this?
Yeah.
How do you send this? I'm like, I
It
mean,
was kind of
I'm a better
embarrassing,
breakdancer
but I
than
didn't
her.
know. I don't know anything about dance or breakdancing,
you'll
so
see the difference. You'll see the difference if you watch it. But
yeah.
she just
well,
like,
I've seen good ones, and I saw that, and I was like, that didn't seem good to me. But I don't know.
I also don't.
Artistry is so subjective.
That's what I'm saying. I think that might be the real reason they took it out, but a lot of people
Yeah.
were blaming it on her. So I don't know the full story there because I don't like.
Well, it's like the Grammys.
Yeah.
Like the Grammys to me are bullshit. Who is the best album? I mean, you can go off of, if you're going to give awards, go off sales, go off metrics, but like best album,
Yeah.
like, that's so
Yeah.
subjective. Like
I
I
know.
wouldn't, and not that it's not an honor for somebody to say you have the best
Yeah.
album, but there's so many great.
So
somebody,
many. I
you know, there's
know.
so many genres. I feel like it was so much more simple back in the day. You know, you had very few genres
Yeah.
and a lot of artists in that space, and now it's gotten so fragmented
Yeah.
where they're like genres now. If you go and pull down a list, there's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
Indie, folk, punk, rock.
yeah,
Like, what is
metalcore,
Yeah.
nitro. Like, what is that?
Alex could tell you about this. He's like,
Oh, I know.
oh,
he
the metal
has.
stuff is so funny to me. So I'm like, oh, what does that even mean?
He has told me. I was
Sleepy-
asking him about the kind of bands he liked one time, and he started with, well, I like guys that are this and this and this, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Sleepy ballad death metal. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How do you have sleepy ballad death metal? Like, so yeah, I don't know. It's just all this, it's hilarious.
It's wild.
It is wild, but something else wild is like Beyonce won Country Album of the Year, so there's that, and so that's also like one of those things you're just like, wow, that was not expected, but okay.
Well, Mike Portnoy, the drummer for Dream Theater, which is one of the most sophisticated prog rock bands of all time, said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said in the 90s, you had thousands of bands making millions of dollars. Now you have millions of bands making thousands of dollars.
Oh, that's so true.
Right? Because back then, the path to success was signing with a major label and taking out a loan basically to get that album because the label wants to recoup all that, right?
Yeah.
And then you go on tour, and that's and then you have radio. So radio will only play stuff that's from major labels, and then they get exclusive interviews and things like that. It's a whole system. But now I can record an album for free in this room with very minimal equipment. It just need the time, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds,
Yeah.
you know, depending on what you want your sound like. I really like the way Led Zeppelin sounds. Like, I like the way
one of
those
my
records sound.
favorites, Yeah.
And so I'm not worried about being like super slick and polished. I think music has gotten too slick to where there's just no soul in it anymore.
It is very soulless.
You listen to the Beatles records back then. They didn't have mics on every damn drum, and they weren't. They were doing it live.
I have a theory on that though. I feel like
Let's hear
there's
it.
soulless. I feel like there's a lot more soulless music because I feel like there's a lot more soulless people. So I feel like it's kind of like transmuting over that. Like it's kind of like. So sometimes, not for everybody. There's a lot of great new artists and stuff like that, but I do find that like cycling back to the social media, people like when I was a kid, I went outside. I played, I knew what I liked, I knew these things, I knew who I was. And now, if I was to be a kid now and watch all these videos of these like girls that are just like stunningly gorgeous and perfect bodies and this and that, and this, it's cool to dress like this, and it's cool to have this Stanley mug, and it's cool to have this, and if I didn't have those things, like I didn't even have very much peer pressure growing up because like I was in a small town, and I, you know, but I think I would
So
be.
did you go to school at Berryville?
Yes, I was homeschooled and then I went to school in Berryville.
Okay.
So I feel like I would have been so different if I, like, I don't know how the kids know who they are because they look at all this stuff and they latch on to bits and pieces of it.
Well,
And I don't know how much of it is really them and how much of it is because.
Yeah, and that's the, you know, Julia wanted to homeschool from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I just didn't want to do it because I had homeschool kids that came into Farmington and they were weird as shit.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't, so they were awkward,
They
you
are
know.
kind of weird.
And when
Homeschool.
COVID hit, I was like, do it. Just,
Yeah.
I'm not going to send my kids to school in masks.
Yeah.
And so she started doing it. And, of course, Max is going to Farmington now. Alex is going to Farmington to school. But I felt totally comfortable sending Max in there because he developed his personality.
Yes.
And he now has the tools
Yes.
to, I feel like when you're young and you're so impressionable.
Yes.
And you're around all these other kids who are chasing what's cool.
Yes.
Right? Whereas if you can keep them away from that kind of shit
Yes.
for a while, as long as you keep them engaged and socialized and doing things
Yeah.
with other people and learning and going to places like the Capitol. Julie took them to the Capitol last week, you know, and they
Yes.
did the tour and all that. They're always engaged
yeah.
with other kids, homeschool
She's
co-ops and
such
stuff.
a good mom.
She's amazing.
She's an amazing mom. She's so inspiring to me. She always is like, "Do you want to do this really awesome thing?" And I'm like, "How do you find out all this stuff?" She's so cool.
She's amazing.
She does a great job. But you're right. I feel the same way.
But not all homeschool parents
Are not all equal.
are a lot of them are hurting their kids.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we'll homeschool, but then the kids don't actually do anything.
Yeah.
They're just home being
Yeah.
worthless.
Yeah.
Like, how's that going to pay? Like, did you
There's
think
no
this through?
discipline. There's no accountability.
Right.
There's no social skills. There's no like that. Yeah, I homeschooled for this. So I homeschooled my boys up until this past year because my job is I work from 4 to 9 every day. So I get there at about 3:45. I leave at about 9:30. And so I'm like, I'll never see my kids. I'll literally pick. And so my life now is go pick up. I drop my kids off at school. Like the time I see my kids is my 30-minute drive there and my 30-minute drive back, and then every
Right.
other weekend. And so I just really cherish.
That's tough too.
It is really tough.
Yeah.
But so I'm figuring out how to balance it. It is hard, and like I had a pity party for myself the other day, and I was like, "Oh, this is so hard. I
Yeah.
never had to see you guys." And then I was like, "All right, suck it up."
Yeah.
And I'm like, just find ways.
But
Find
see
ways.
that right there, I think we've gotten away from the suck it up part.
Yeah. No.
I
we
think
are,
people just want to extendedly be a victim or feel sorry for themselves, and it's so unhealthy.
It's so unhealthy to identify as your weakness. It's
Yes.
so unhealthy to be like, or even, oh gosh, don't get me started on labeling like ADHD.
No, let's talk about it.
You want to get
Let's
started
talk
on
about it.
Okay,
No,
wait, did we
we
sign?
need to be having
Okay.
conversations.
Well,
Yeah.
you feel like we got good with the social media stuff. Like I feel like it's not good. I feel like there's some great things. Like I use my business. Like I
I
post.
love social media
I
if
do
it's used
too.
rightly.
Yeah.
Um,
But for kids,
for
I'm
for
nervous about.
promotions and
Yes,
brand building
yes.
and those kinds of things. But what it ends up being is narcissists just spewing shit out
Yeah.
into the ether that nobody gives a like. Look
Yeah.
at me. Look
Yeah.
at me eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
Taking a shit. Like,
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Or just putting hate out into the world.
You can
and it's so
you can
toxic.
put whatever you want, and that's why it's really dangerous for kids that don't understand the balance. You know,
or
like
the context.
or the
of
context.
what's going
and-
on.
Yeah, so I'm really careful. My kids do have an Instagram account, but like it's private, and I have to approve everything, and they are on it hardly ever. Like I send them like puppy reels and stuff like that.
Right.
The only reason I let my kids have it is because we have a lot of family and they're all spread out.
Sure.
And so I like them to be able to stay in touch with
I get
them.
that.
And so they honestly, my kids don't have a huge issue with it. My Maxie is a gamer, and
Yep.
like you said, he'll be watching those videos, and I'll come in and he's like, "Mom, watch this guy," and I'm like, I'm dumber now. I'm dumber from watching that. So
Yes.
thanks, son. I was like, and I don't tell him he can't watch it, but I do limit it. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, it's like all the, "Oh, yo, bro, let's go." And I'm like, oh. So it's cringy. But okay. So I feel like we got good with that, and we want to go into labeling ourselves, right?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
talk about this.
So I recently heard something so good from a psychologist about the dangers of making your disease your identity. And I loved.
Was it an article?
No,
Or-
it was something somebody sent me on Instagram.
My buddy Jason
But-
Green sent me something very similar. I don't know if it's the same thing.
It's probably close to it because so this generation has this whole thing of like, well, I'm ADHD, so I get these special rights, and I have to take my test in a certain way or something like that. Which I mean, I'm not for tests. I
Special considerations and
yeah,
using it as an identity.
Dyslexic or this or
Using
depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm depressed. That's why I can't do this. I have anxiety. That's why I can't do this. And so
which is bullshit because I suffer from bipolar. I
Yeah.
suffer from anxiety disorders. You have to push through.
Yes.
What are you gonna do?
So-
Just bitch?
I'm half one way, half the other way. Half of me wants to be completely a safe place,
Yeah.
a supporter to those
Sure.
people, and I will always hear anybody out. You can tell me about your depression, you tell me about bipolar, you tell me about anxiety. I will hear you out, and I'm going to be really gentle through the process, but I'm also not going to let you latch onto that as your identity
Right.
and let that dictate your life and take away who you are.
Yeah.
So the way this psychologist said it is, she said that these are diseases, and if you have cancer, you're not cancer.
Right.
You just have cancer, and you got to work to get rid of it. If you
Right.
have a migraine, you are not a migraine.
You don't become a migraine.
You have to take the
Yes.
steps to get rid of it. So if you have ADHD, like I definitely have ADHD. I'm like,
So ADHD is different than ADD.
Yes.
So ADD is just attention deficit.
disorder. It's where you have a hard time like staying focused.
Right.
But ADHD is where like I'm super hyper.
Yes.
So the hyper are thrown in there.
Yeah,
And
you've said more words per minute than any other guest already.
do I get
You're
a prize?
faster talking than Ben Shapiro. Like you're just like.
I know. I'm sorry. I
No,
I
it's
warned
great.
you. I was. I told
I
you I'm
love
a
you.
talker.
You're fantastic.
I told you I'm a talker.
do
I love
you.
to talk, but I really like the way that this doctor says it, because I've had kids come up to me and tell me like, "Oh, well, I can't dance today because of I have a mental illness."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is a dance class. What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do? So they're kind of putting me in a weird spot. Is like, do I do my job? Do I make special not arrangements, accommodations? Do I accommodate to you differently because of this? Because I know for a fact that this girl is on her period, her boyfriend just broke up with her, and she's having a really hard day, and she's in here doing
it.
the things.
I'm with you
And so
there.
it's like, and
Yep.
then the same with me. Like I have my own problems, and I come in every day, and I come in with a smile, and I come
Right.
in loving on these bugs, and and it's work.
It's weakness.
It is. It's like a crutch. It's like they're holding. Like you wouldn't hold on to cancer. You wouldn't be like, well, I have cancer. I have cancer. I have cancer. You'd be like, I'm getting rid of the cancer. So
Yeah.
I wish I would have heard that little speech that this doctor gave like
Can
a couple
you
years
send
ago.
me whatever you're talking about? I would love to look into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um,
She's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and somebody sent it to me on Instagram, and I sent it to somebody just recently because he is a therapist. It's one of my friends, and he's a therapist. He's a children's therapist, and I sent it to him because I was like, I want to know what you think about this. He's like, absolutely, this is what
Yeah.
needs to be happening, because it's like. You don't want to hold on to that. You don't want to identify as that,
Right.
and you want to understand that this is not an excuse.
Right.
It's a disease, and you
Yes.
want to take steps to heal that, just like you would
100%.
any other disease.
I'm with you.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. So our recital theme this year is Got Grit.
Got
And
grit.
I wanted
like
to do it like a milk. I wanted to do it like a milk, like Got Grit with the question mark, but I don't know if we legally can do that. But all of our
I think you can, as long as it's a parody.
okay. So we have
Yeah.
our recital shirts and stuff, and we're gonna put something on
Who
there.
does your shirts?
So who designs them or who prints them?
Who prints them? You have a good.
So Backwoods Rags was our printer. They are shutting down, but Natural Threads is taking over, and they're friends of Backwoods Rags. They're here. They're local. They're off of. It's the Archibald Yell. It's like it's really college, but it's Archibald Yell, and then it's right by Arcega, by the what do they call that?
But you got a good relationship with them?
Great relationship.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the guy that is the guitarist from 1 Ounce Jig.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of them? They're a local band. They're old school.
No,
Old school.
I've been out of the music scene since 2012.
Well,
so.
see, that's your problem. You need to come with me to Andy Frasco on Wednesday.
No, I am doing Durham Fest, and
Oh.
that's how I'm going to do that.
When is Durham Fest?
June 7th.
You always have it on my family reunion. June 7th is always my family reunion.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We had a cousin that died on June 7th.
You like
and
going to those?
family reunions?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, very much.
My family's a toxic shithole
Oh.
mess, so I
Come to mine
cut
then.
them all out.
Well, you can't this year, but next year.
I cherry pick who I want in my life. Like, I always loved the story of Jesus when he's hanging out with his buddies and his
Yeah.
mom shows up and he's like, "Hey, your mom's here." And he's like, "All these ladies are my mom." Like,
Yeah. These are my
she's not special because
These
she's
are my
my
brothers,
mother.
yeah.
But I never understood, and my mom put a lot of emphasis and value on blood relation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, if they're a toxic piece of shit, and every interaction is negative with this person, why keep them in your life?
Mm-hmm.
You choose your family. To
Oh,
me,
I 100% believe that.
yes.
I have a lot of family, and I would say half of my family that I call family, like I call my cousins and stuff, they're not blood cousins. They're just like,
Sure.
I've chosen you, like Uncle John and Uncle G.
Right.
They're boys' uncles at all,
Yeah.
you know, but, so my family is a big family, and it is a collection, like our parents like all had babies like all at the same time. We grew up barefoot on the river every day, and so we have like this amazing cousin relationship. And so yes, I love my family. Like I could do a whole nother podcast on each individual one of how much I love them. They're so much fun. My family is so much fun, and they bring so much excitement and joy to my life. So
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your family. I've met your parents.
Yes.
Great people.
the best.
Live close to you.
A block
So
away.
You're right
Yeah.
close.
They lived
Beautiful.
with me. They lived with me for a year when they were transitioning too, and that was great.
What do you mean transitioning from where?
They lived in Berryville.
Oh, they're
and
still up in Berryville.
They were living in Berryville, and then we had lived up here for like 10. Me and my sister had moved up here originally to go to college. My sister did go to college. I went for one semester, and I was like, I want to dance. The university had no dance program. They did have one, but it was a total joke, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's terrible. They only offered like ballet one and modern one, and I was
What
like,
is modern?
modern dance is like the Martha Graham, like all of the weird, like the kind of stuff, like the maybe like it's like always like weird like cello music and stuff,
Okay,
and
okay.
so that's a very brief description of it. And modern is really cool, but it wasn't what I was into at the time.
Okay.
And modern one is like where they just. So like the level 1 classes were just like so like I wanted to be pushed. I was young. I wanted to be pushed. I was like at my physical peak. I wanted to, I wanted to be doing switch leaps and aerials and all that stuff. I don't want to be like sitting there like slowly walking across the floor to cello music,
Right.
So I wanted to do something
It's
else.
bizarre.
It's if you get so there's some modern companies that are amazing,
Yeah.
but then that's like not level 1. So if I could have done like something like a higher level, I would have wanted to
Right.
do it, but I didn't want to do the level 1. So I just took off and did it like that. But so my parents were living in Berryville for all those years because they had a house there and we had the studio there. We were driving back and forth. I had my babies. I was driving them back and forth twice a week to Berryville for like, since they were little. I made that drive twice a week for
Wow.
15 years.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's a hike.
Yes, and then after I had babies, it was even more hard because like packing everything up and going down and coming back. This is a long drive, so we're like, we're gonna
Absolutely.
sell the studio, and we sold the studio, and then a couple years later, we just hated it because we hardly saw our parents anymore, and we're really close.
Obviously,
And so I was like, I didn't pitch it like a real fit, but I was like, you guys need to move up here. You guys have to move here. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care what, you guys have to move here. And so I had 2 roommates at the time, and that my roommates were
in the house you're in now.
yeah, I had 2 roommates at the time, and I was, and that was so fun. And then I told
What
my
a beautifully decorated house, by the way. I must say,
Oh.
I love the inside of your house.
it's fun.
It's really cool.
It's not
really
very
fun.
grown up, but it's fun.
Who
It's like
fucking
it's like
cares
in here.
about-
I love this place. This is like
Yes.
I feel like I am back in the 90s,
It's
and
not
my
boring.
cousins. No, God no. I'm like I don't know what to look
Every
at.
time I go in your house, I see something new, and you also change it,
Yeah.
like periodically.
Yeah. Lots of skeletons. I love skeleton stuff. It just
Yeah.
keeps it.
It's a fun house
It's
to
a
grow
fun-
up
lots
in,
of
and that's what I've
plants.
always
Oh,
loved
yeah.
about the way you raise your kids is like
tons of fun.
It's just a fun place to grow up.
We got rings and trampolines and
Yeah.
Nerf guns and ping
And
pong
drums
tables,
and
drums.
guitars
Oh
and-
gosh, yeah. My house looks a lot like this, so it is great. But so anyway, my roommates were supposed to be moving out, and my parents ended up selling their house way faster than they were gonna. And so I ended up having my parents and 2 roommates, and then my parents' 3 dogs, and my roommates' 2 cats, and my cat, and my 2 kids. We all lived in this one house
No
together
shit.
for like 6 months, and it was a nonstop like.
So you became
Party.
a Mexican family from
Yes,
that. Jokes, people.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
love Mexican families because I love that they all live together. I'm so jealous. I want.
Yeah, it is cool. It is a really cool.
Never boring.
Is that a tradition or like a? But they
They're
live
close to
a
their
lot.
family.
They very
I
much
love
are,
that.
and I do too. As long as they're cool.
As long as it's fun, yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be good if it was toxic, but yeah, my family's really fun, so it was fun. It was a lot, so this is just like never a dull moment. But so yeah, so my parents ended up moving into a house. I was like, you have to live with me until you find a house in this neighborhood, and so they moved around the block, and it's great. I see them every day now.
And they seem like very down to earth, normal people. So what the hell happened with you?
I don't know.
What was it
They're
like?
not.
What was it like growing up with your parents? Like,
So
what kind of parents were
funny
they?
story. We grew up really religious and very sheltered.
Really?
So religious.
Okay.
Yes.
So what year were you born?
82.
82. Brother.
I'm 82. My sister's 84. My brother's 86.
Okay, so you're the oldest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we grew up really, really religious. So religious, I wasn't allowed to listen to secular radio, which was
This
just
sounds
a
very
radio
familiar.
station.
Yeah.
I was only allowed to watch like old black and white movies, which in hindsight, I'm so glad because the old black and whites are where it's at. And now I'm getting to watch all of, well, not now. I've watched them when I was like 18, but like I got to go back and watch all those movies. And at my cousin's house, we'd sneak and watch what movie we watched, like Romeo and Juliet and stuff like that. We'd watch like, oh gosh, Titanic and risque movies. So we grew up like that, and then we had an incident, a falling out at our church and stuff, and it's just kind of weird. It was a really weird, uncomfortable situation.
Some preacher rape a boy or something?
No, it was some evangelist.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, it was almost along those lines.
Yeah.
So it was,
What a shock.
we had an evangelist come to our church, and I was like, oh, I want to do this dance. This will be so beautiful. And I thought, oh, the Lord is leading me to do this dance. And I did this dance, and he like called all the elders back and told, my dad was an elder. And so he's like, that girl, she was trying to seduce me and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, I was like 13 at the time. So
That's
my parents were like,
extremism.
that's fucking sick. My dad was like, what is wrong with you
Yeah,
guys? And
yeah.
so we just, after that, he said a lot of other really creepy things. I'm not going to share because it's gross. But so my parents were just like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. And so we left, and my dad started up another.
How old were you when that happened?
I was like
You said?
13,
13,
14.
you said? Yeah,
I was somewhere between 13 and 14.
So creepy.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Creepy regardless of how old you are, really.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if
it's just
somebody's if somebody's doing something in church, like it's like generally not to seduce you, and like I was like in like a black.
Well, I don't know. The
yeah,
Catholics.
yeah. Oh gosh, I know. Oh,
Why on earth would you prevent these men from getting married? Where did God demand that?
they need to. They definitely need
So
to.
what is your view on religion now?
Okay, so my dad started a church, and then
He started a church?
well, he started just like as like a little group because there's a little group of people that left with us, and we started like a little church. And
Really?
Yeah. And my dad always played. He was always an elder. He always played in the worship band and all that kind of
Yeah?
stuff. And
Very cool dude, by the way.
So cool.
I met him the first time at Durham Fest 1.
he can do
and
everything.
so supportive
So
of
supportive
those kids and very knowledgeable.
about
I
everything.
haven't spent as much time with your mom, but your dad was just a great guy.
They
I really loved him.
complement each other well.
Do they?
Yeah, where they like balance each other out really
Yeah,
nicely.
yeah.
But my dad is like the best. He's my hero. He can do everything. He knows how to build everything.
Yeah, he seems
fix
like a guy
everything.
who can do it all.
But also, he's the kind of guy I can sit down and like cuddle up with and be like, "Dad, my period cramps are so bad," and he's like, "Oh, baby," and he'll like rub me and stuff and like massage me and make me feel better. And you know, he's not embarrassed to talk about the gross things with me. Like if I go on a date, I like tell my dad I'm like, "Guess what happened?" You know, and so he always wants to know, and I think it's beautiful that we have that kind of. It is really
absolutely.
beautiful. So we did that, and then it just kind of like fizzled out. And we watched. My sister was in college, and she was like in like debate stuff, and I don't know. Anyway, somehow she got her hands on the Religulous. Have you seen the Bill Maher Religulous? It's pretty much he goes in and debunks religions and shows how they're all.
I remember when he put it out.
Yeah.
But I never watched it. I had a severe loathing for Bill Maher for a long time.
Yeah.
Still kind of do. Just his attitude.
Yeah.
His contemptuous, I'm holier than thou attitude. It's not even his beliefs or political. It's just that.
Yeah.
I feel like he's an
He can be
asshole.
kind of obnoxious.
Yeah.
I'm not a Bill Maher fan. I don't really. That's the only thing of his I've ever seen. But it sparked.
Is it
something.
worth a watch?
I think so, because he goes back and he kind of debunks and shows the similarities of all the religions. And what he's trying to say is listen, these are all the same stories. So you guys should stop fighting about who's right and just.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah. And so it's like, I mean, so now my family is, we're all agnostic. And.
So if you talk about the extreme right, it's evangelicals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to hell if you're gay.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
A loving God would not do that.
No.
And there's so many things that just don't add up. And to me, even as a kid, it was like, so through Christ's salvation, I now have a direct relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need the church?
Yeah.
And now I get that it can help fellowship and all that
Community.
stuff. Yeah, if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't feel the need to go and just hang out with people and talk about God.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have a personal relationship.
Yeah.
And I do believe in God.
Uh-huh.
I also believe that Jesus was a man.
I believe that Jesus was a man, too.
I don't think he rose from the grave, and I don't think he was the Son of God. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people on the evangelicals think I'm going to hell. Mm-hmm. And they've been very open about that.
Yeah.
Like, well, enjoy your time in hell for the way. It's like, your religion is based on faith, not fact.
Yeah.
And some people are okay with that, and they can admit that. Mm-hmm. But we don't know. Mm-hmm. We can't be sure. And you have to admit it's based on faith.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is, if I believe in Jesus' teachings and his message, the red letters, if you will, the things he said, I got no problem with what he says. I love it.
Yeah.
They're great teachings.
No, I love Jesus.
And Christian values are what I raise my family on.
Me too. So it's
But
fun.
why do I have to go
You don't.
to a church
You don't.
and pay money
You don't.
to some I feel like preachers in and of themselves are, that no false idols, right? Mm-hmm. Why are you going and having some centralized figure telling you how to have a relationship with God? The whole system, the whole concept of church, to me, is flawed. Mm-hmm. But I've been told I can't be a Christian unless I do it this way. It's like, well then.
No,
I'm not going to do it that way.
No, I.
So what? I'm going to hell?
I 100% disagree. So an interesting thing. So I wouldn't say. I say agnostic. I mean, I don't believe in a white bearded guy in the sky deciding who lives and dies.
Right.
That's what I mean by that. There is definitely some power that keeps our atoms from floating apart.
And there's a divine. There are things that have happened in my life that at the time I'm like, why did this happen? And then later I went, man,
divine
this led to this.
Yeah. So I do believe in all that kind of stuff. I think when I mean agnostic, I mean I don't believe in I think that there is a power or something. There's an energy or something that, because I feel it. I feel so strongly. I can meet people and I can feel such a connection to them right away.
Yeah.
And it's not superficial. It's deep. It's a deep connection, and it's a deep love. And I know that doesn't come from nowhere. I know it has to come from somewhere. I think I consider myself agnostic in the fact that I don't want to go to church and be forced to think these things, or someone tell me how to think, because
why
I feel
are you interpreting the Bible to me when I can read it?
yeah.
You know, like
And
I
also,
feel like
the Bible was written by humans, and it was written thousands of years ago, and if
it's
you know
been translated multiple different
yes.
times, and even with the translation we all agree on, there's 50 different sects of that religion.
So also, so like, let's say this. So like, you write down everything that happened, everything that you observe in your world, and you say, this is what's happening. I write down everything that I observe in my world. Our worlds are very different. Okay, so then if your book makes it 2,000 years later, people are going to take this is how it was.
Right.
But if someone finds my book, they're taking and go, this is how it was. So
Right.
to me, I'm like, I do believe.
But it's not only that. The book of Matthew, I believe, is the closest book written to the time of his death, and it was written 30 years after his death. If I was to write something that happened when I was 12, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. So that's my point when I mean agnostic. I mean, like, I'm not buying into any of that stuff. I 100%, if you were to ask me like what I am, I align with all of Jesus's principles. I love Jesus. I think Jesus was a cool fucking dude. I think that like
that's a t-shirt, Nicole. Jesus was a cool fucking dude.
Like, honestly, I date him. And
Nicole Bynum has in her studio a picture of Jesus with a quote underneath it that says, "Don't be a dick." I love that.
That's my one rule for my house.
That's pretty much it.
That's
Don't be a
my
dick.
one rule for my house. Whenever kids come to my house, I was like, well, we have roof safety training. They can't get on the roof unless they go through roof safety training, and then don't be a dick.
What the hell is roof safety training?
I don't want kids getting on the roof unless they understand, like,
gravity,
wind, and like that it's a serious place. We don't run, we don't push, we don't like get close to the edge, things like that.
Okay.
And also like branch testing. Like, I don't want them crawling up. Like, some kids don't know what a dead branch looks like.
No, that I will agree on.
So to get onto my roof, you have to climb up this Japanese maple.
Yeah.
And sometimes those branches die, and I leave them there, and I'm like, so your foot goes in this wedge, not on the branch, because you'll fall. And so yeah, my one rule in my house is don't be a dick. But yeah, no, I totally align.
I kind of have a twofold. It's like, be kind.
Yeah.
And don't put up with shit.
Yeah.
And you know, like, be
I need
strong
to get
and
better
stand
at
up
that.
for
I need to
yourself.
get better at like stand up and.
And I know Julia sometimes feels like I'm too hard on these kids, but I'm like, they're boys. They need to know where the fucking fence is, and if they cross it, it's not going to be acceptable.
Boundaries.
And yes.
Those are boundaries.
Especially with boys, with Durham boys too, because Durham boys want to push it. My dad did, I did, you know, and we got lucky with the first two, but that third one, man, he's gonna challenge us a little bit.
Theo?
Oh, God. What are you talking about?
I love Theo. I love all of your boys so much. Oh, yeah, he'll live.
The kid loves danger.
He loves anything dangerous. He had my
He's a
heart
pyro.
from like day one, though. From day one, he came in and he just like had like this like wild fire in his eyes and just like this little smirk.
That
and just
smile,
like,
it melts you away.
He can have anything he wants from
And
me.
his brothers, you know, it's the third child thing, right? Like, you always hear about the third child, the baby, the spoiled or whatever. And it's true, because you get lazy. Like, when Max was born, we were first-time parents. It's like, well, they say we got to put plugs in the outlets and all this stuff, which is super annoying. And then by the time Theo's born, it's like everything's open. There's guns laying out. There's knives. And it's like, hey, you see that socket? Go stick a fork in it, see what happens, so you won't do it again. You know, he was just raised as a savage. We had two other boys, and it was like, he'll figure it out.
He's like little Mowgli. He's totally a little Mowgli. He's a little forest baby.
Yeah.
I'm just obsessed with all of your kids, and they probably get so annoyed because like I made Maxwell hug me today. I was like, oh my gosh, and he was like, did this business, and I was like,
God, I would never do that to that kid. Why would you do that?
Because I love him.
Oh.
I love your kids so much.
You know, it's weird because with Max, there's no emotion, no affection, right? Because I'm the affectionate one in the family. Julia's not.
Yeah, she doesn't.
She's
She told me
like
she
her
won't
mom.
hug me.
Her dad is the affectionate one in her family.
I love her dad.
You know her dad.
I love her dad.
First thing you see when you see that guy, it's a big old bear hug coming at you, right? But me and the little boys, every time if I come home or whatever, I'm like, where's my mooch? You know, come give me a peck, come give me a hug.
Uh-huh.
Let me see you, brother. But with Max, like, you don't. He doesn't say I love you. He won't say it. My boys and I say it all the time. It's like raising a geriatric person, like an old man.
I've said that from day one. So I know this about Maxwell, and I know he's really uncomfortable with this. And the reason I do this to him is because I feel
My
like
Maxwell.
Yeah, you're Maxwell. I
She
feel
is
like
a Maxwell.
Max-
Is he Maxwell?
He's Max.
Or just Max?
Yeah, he's a Maxwell, but I call him Max and
Okay.
Alex just for short.
Yeah.
But so I feel like as his parent, it probably would be annoying to be like every time be like, come hug me.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm kind of like that outside person that I feel like I feel like I need to push that with him a little bit, just because like I kind of feel like this like
Troll.
like this calling, like a little troll calling in my life to like kind of push people outside their comfort
you know,
zone
it's-
safely. Like show them, like I like to like catch people off guard. I like
Sure.
to push people outside their comfort zone just a little bit. You know, like sometimes like just like weird things. Like we'll walk across the crosswalk or something, and I have these kids. I'm like, everybody do the weirdest walk you can do, and they're like, what? This is so embarrassing. I'm like, yeah, but you live and you're fine, and all those people now
Right.
are like, what the fuck is wrong with those people? So it's like not like in anything extreme. Like I always like am paying attention to his energy to see if he's comfortable, and he's generally not super comfortable with it, but I'm like, oh, come on, give me a hug. I was like, put your arms, give me a hug, and he's just like, but I know that he's like, okay, he knows that I love
that
him
you
and
care
support
about
him.
him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he knows that I can pray, and I say that I ask him about his date to the dance, and I was like, ask him all this
How
stuff.
much information did you get on that?
Oh, he put his hands on her waist, but he did not get butterflies when they danced.
What is a butterfly?
Like butterflies in your tummy, like, oh, I put my hands on her
Oh, a
waist.
butterfly. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
He's like,
I thought it was a dance move or
oh
something.
gosh, yeah,
Okay.
it is a dance move. But so like, and after I got done asking him all these questions, and he's sitting there just like, you know, tight-lipped and like uncomfortable, I was like, I'm sorry, you know, I'm nosy, you know, I just love you. And then he kind of smiles, and I know we're cool, and then I know,
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna
yeah,
back
yeah.
off now. But I can do that because I'm not his parent. Like I feel like as a
Right.
parent, that would be like a no, you know. But I kind of like to be that, like his Auntie M. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
here for you, and I'm gonna make you a little bit uncomfortable, but I love you, and I know that you know I love you, and
Yeah.
so I love your
I'll
boys
tell you
so
a funny
much.
story. So Max is a terrible communicator.
Terrible.
Here's an example. I sent him a message with the new Volbeat song and the album release date. I get zero response from Max. I sent it to Walt, and he's like, "Swick, can we go?" You know, like that's the
Yeah.
difference, because Max is just. Julia's had to ask him, "Can you please just acknowledge that you get my messages?" Because he just he won't. He's like, because it's not efficient. Like, why do you need a response? I received it.
Yeah, I can see. I
Yeah.
saw it.
And
Why do you need
so
to know I saw it?
He's going to this. I get informed he's going to a dance,
Uh-huh.
and so I asked him. I said, "So what's up with this dance? I'm going to a dance. Are you going with someone? Yes. Is it a lady? Yes. Is said lady a girlfriend? Yes." And I just said, "Take it easy." That's all I said. Just take it easy.
Yeah.
So later that day, Julia's in the kitchen and Max is in the room, and Julia and Max are super close because the robotics thing. You know, she's
Yeah.
always robot mom, and so
Yeah.
during robot season, it's me and the little boys and her and Max, and they spend a lot of time together and a lot of time talking and a lot of time outside of robot talking about robot and how they're going to solve things, and it's beautiful. It's a great relationship.
is, yeah.
So I just and Max and I also, after the little boys go to bed, we spend an hour, 2 hours
Yeah.
every night just talking.
Oh, I remember when
bullshitting,
we went to Kansas
hanging.
City, and just like I was listening to Julia, me and Julia were talking, but I was listening to you and Maxwell, and like it was so beautiful how you guys the entire drive were talking, and you're like, well, what do you think about this? And it was like things that are so far outside of I'm like, what the hell are they even talking
What
about?
were we? Do you remember?
Oh, it was just like spaceship stuff and like future
Nerd shit.
It was like just
Yeah.
like futuristic space, engine, politics, everything,
the concept
history.
of the 11th dimension.
Yeah, history, like stuff that I'm like,
Yeah.
I literally, that's
We
why I was
just
kind
talk.
of, I was nervous to come on here. I'm like, I don't think I can carry on a conversation with him. He's so smart. But
Yeah.
I remember taking away from that trip just going that, because Julia always told me, because I don't see you much, because usually we're off doing something,
Yeah.
and I don't see you much, and I'm always like, yeah, I am nosy. I'm like, oh, so how are things with Brad? And I am very nosy, but I won't tell you everything I ask, but I did ask her about it, and she's always like, he's a really great great dad. He's a really great dad to the boys, and he's really involved, and he really pays attention, and he loves those boys. And I never got to really see that until that trip because I hadn't seen you guys a lot. And I just remember just like sometimes like touching my heart going, this is melting my heart. Like, they are having conversations that 90% of the dads I know have never had with their son, never spent that much time like getting down to brass tacks with them, like, what do you really think happened in the Revolutionary War? You guys are like, I'm like, what in the hell? You guys are so wild. But so I think that's really beautiful. That,
well, thank you.
He is a little old man. He's definitely the youngest old man.
Didn't you just call him Grandpa?
Grandpa Max. I know, Grandpa Maxwell. Yeah. Well, because the first time I think I invited Julia and the boys to come over to my house and play, and Theo had that bag of knives, and they were all like little wild savages running around the house, like cutting up stuff, and so cute. And like about an hour after we're there, your Maxwell is like, Mom, it's beginning to rain. And I was like, so? I was like, you gotta go because it's gonna rain. And he's like, and I was like, and I'm nosy. I'm like, wait, why did you have to go because it's gonna rain? Like, I have no filter and I am nosy. And so I'm like, why? And he's like, the baby ducks. We have baby ducks and they're gonna get in the rain. And I was like, baby ducks can be in the rain.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. But he was just like,
he was a lot younger than he is now. Then, like, that was a long time ago.
That was like, several years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember just at that moment going, like, almost like biting my finger, like, oh my God, who is this little creature that is like, Mother, do you think it's responsible? He said, do you think it's responsible of us to be playing here while the ducks
He's more responsible than me now.
He's more responsible probably than both of us put together.
Yes. So anyway, to finish the story. So he's in the room. Yeah. Julie's in the kitchen. I'm in there. And I asked Julia, just assuming her and Max are super close, and they talk about everything, and she knows shit that I don't. Yeah. And Max and I talk about different things, you know. Yeah. It's a lot more esoteric and philosophical.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah.
That's
balance. It's balance. You guys have a good balance.
No, it's fantastic. Like you said, like you talked about your parents play on each other's strengths. Me and Julia have completely different strength sets, but it
and you've raised
makes it
great kids because
makes it a good balance for what the kids need. But anyway, I asked Julia. I said, "So when the hell were you going to tell me about Max having a girlfriend?" And she goes, "What?" And she looks around at Max, and he looks at me, and I was like, "I didn't know."
I'm sorry.
I didn't know, man. I'm so sorry. I busted you out. And she starts grilling him on it. And he's like, you know, obviously.
Oh my gosh. I think I probably knew before both of you then, because my Alex told me because I've been asking him about the dance.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I think I did. Because I mean, I knew a while back because he's like, well, Max is bringing his girlfriend. I'm like, Maxwell has a girlfriend who? And told me, and so that I do like Instagram for that. I can look up and stalk people. I didn't look up her, but Alex told me who she was, and I remember her from we went to the skating rink and she was there. So
well, that's where it started. All of a sudden Max is not a guy that likes to go out and do things.
He's not.
And then all of a sudden he's going to stay.
He likes to stay in.
Yeah, he is.
Somebody.
I would never leave this building if I could.
I remember I listened on your podcast and you're like, COVID was the best 2 years of my life. I got to stay home and go nowhere.
Well, it's the best and the worst.
Yeah,
because
because of loss.
I built a cocoon around myself of just like reality's over. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa shot himself, and I'm like, I am my grandpa. Like, I'm just not productive in any way.
Oh.
Like, I'd stopped playing in band. Like, I was a good father. Like, and I put all my energy into the kids, but I wasn't doing anything. As an artist, you need to create.
Yeah.
And I wasn't writing music. I wasn't doing any of that. And Walter single-handedly got me out of that. He asked me, because I'd always said, man, we live out in the country. I grew up, my dad had a buddy, Jim Hanna, that worked with him. And he would have a music festival every year out at his house in either Crosses or Combs, out past Elkins. But he had this big 18-foot trailer out there. He had outhouses, and it was just friends and family. And my dad's band would headline, and my band would open. And it was so cool, and we looked forward to it every year. It was just a great time, and I loved it. And then he ended up, not wanting to do it anymore, so it kind of fizzled out. And I was like, we need to do that out here, because we've got a great space for it.
We do.
And so every year, it'd be like, oh yeah, we ought to do this. And Walter just confronted me one day. He goes, Dad, you need to do it this year or quit talking about it, or you're never going to do it at all.
That is so Walt.
And I've probably told this story in a podcast. If you're listening, I apologize, but I haven't told this story to her, so just bear with us. So I'm like, all right, you little smart ass. I said, all right, I'll ask the guys right now. I'll send them a text message and see if they are going to be available for this. Totally expecting them to say, no, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I sent him a message while he was watching. Said, hey, we're thinking about doing a festival out here in September. Just us playing, maybe an opening act, which we had a great opening act for Burn Festival 1. And within 5 minutes, every one of them, yes, exclamation point. I was like, fuck.
Oh, no. Well, I'll
like,
take you
I guess we got to do this now. And so we did it. And now I'm in a band with my son.
Oh, I
and
love it.
It is, like, that's what I was getting to with you working with your sister. Like, how special is that?
Yeah.
And not only am I playing with my son, we got my dad to play bass. And so now I'm in a band with my dad and my son. And it's like...
the best.
And I told Dad the other day, I realized, like, we've both been in bands and we grew up together, but we've never worked together. And which is a shame, but it's never too late. And, like, he's out at band practice last night, and we're writing these harmonies, and we're working on these things, and, it's just... it's been so special.
That's where it's at. To me, when you ask about heaven and hell, you ask what my thoughts about heaven and hell, it's
what you make right here.
Yeah. It's what you are right here. Because, like, have you ever had a dream that felt like it lasted forever? Like, you feel like you're there for, like, an eternity? Like, maybe that's what happens when you die, and all of these good memories you make are what makes you feel like heaven, or makes you feel, I don't know.
Well, if you look at God as a parent, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who would send you to an eternity of pain and suffering is
not
a loving God.
Especially
like,
for not believing
no matter
him.
what your kids did, would you send them to an eternity
No way.
of pain and suffering?
No fucking way. That's when I knew too. So when my cousin died, that was another thing. When my cousin died, she was killed in a car wreck, and she was like our queen.
And when was this?
2001.
Okay.
And so when she died, it was just like... she was just somebody was just driving terrible, crossed over the line and hit her side, and she just died on impact. And like
close with her, I assume.
Oh, so close. Yeah. She was like she was our queen. She was a little bit older than us, so we had the kind of like of a rat pack, or we called ourselves the Spice Girls because there was 5 of us. Yes. Okay. She was a little bit older than me, but we were the Spice Girls. Which
one were you?
Scary Spice, of course. But so she was our Ginger Spice, and she was just our queen, and like we just had the best time growing up, and we like would record all the dances on VHS and then practice them.
Oh, that's cool.
Get together, and we'd learn all the Spice Girl dances and all the songs and all that stuff. And so that was really tragic. And I remember when she died, just being like, how could God let this happen? Yeah. We're such good Christians. We've done everything right.
Well, it goes back to free will. If he controlled everything,
I know. Oh,
it's authoritarianism.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. God can't intervene in everything, but he can lay plans out.
Yeah, I just remember thinking from that moment, though, going like, why would he do this to us? My entire family was the best Christians, and all of us were like, and a lot of my family still is, and that's fine. Like, I think if it makes you feel better and you like it and it's not doing any harm, I think that's great. But so I just remember that moment just being like, this is not right. And I just kind of stuck with that ever since. So
yeah, I hear that a lot about people asking, why would God let this happen?
Yeah.
But he gives us free will,
Yeah.
and we make our own choices.
Yeah.
But I do feel the influence moving. Like, I believe that there is something greater than me.
Yeah, I think there's something greater. I definitely think there's something greater.
And there's no way to know either way, so to be an atheist is completely cynical. To just say there is nothing else after this. Like, what a depressing way to live.
Yeah, it is really depressing. It's a super depressing way to live.
I'm not judging your beliefs, anybody's beliefs here.
No.
I'm just saying.
And I don't feel judged by you ever. So I think that it's really weird because like you think about.
Oh, I judge you.
As you smile, okay. Well, I guess I'm just sure enough of myself. It's okay. I know that I was telling Julie, I was like, I know that sometimes you give me a hard time, but I know that you like me because you talk to me, and that's a bonus point. And then you also invited me to come on here, and you let me be a part of your family's life. So I know you do.
I think you are a beautiful influence on my family, and I'm glad you're a part of it.
I love being part of it. Your family is my like zombie apocalypse plan. Like I'm like, can't there please be a zombie apocalypse? I want to move in with the Durham so bad. I've told Julia that from day one.
just align yourself with Theo. He'll take
That's
care
what
of
I.
everything.
That's why I want.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys have this land. You've got the forest and Theo. I'm like,
Well,
we'll be fine.
If you want to talk about believing in God, Theo scares me.
Why?
Because it's like, why do we need him? Like, did God
see?
put him here
Yeah.
because shit's gonna get tough?
Yeah.
And dude, my dad was a mechanic and like knows how to fix shit, right? And I was the artist. I just want to write songs, Dad. I want to speak my soul, you know?
Yeah.
And I have so much guilt for like just being such a pussy and like not learning that stuff, but at the same time I wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's not where my soul speaks, but that's where Theo's.
Yeah.
Theo's like raising my dad. Like my, you know,
Yeah.
it's and him and my dad have a real close relationship. They go biking together. They've been dirt biking. They work together, and I'm just so grateful to have my dad and his buddy Rick Owens that are able to give him things that I'm just not.
Yeah.
Like me and Max have our thing.
Yeah.
Me and Walter are playing in a band, but
Yeah.
with Theo, it's like I have to meet him.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't push
he's
any
not
of-
waiting. He's going. You're
yeah,
gonna have
he's
to catch
going,
him.
and you got to keep up
Yeah,
with him.
yeah,
And
yeah.
as a dad, I want to do
Yeah.
what he's doing. And I never pushed my kids in anything. I didn't want to.
No, that's why they're all so
We talked about this a
beautifully
little
different.
earlier, but if it happens organically and secretly, did I hope one of them would take up music? Yeah, kind of. But
course.
if you push it, then you run the risk of them just saying, "Hey, I want to do this," and just not getting into it. So it just happened organically.
No, it's beautiful.
And now,
But yeah,
it's-
why do you have Theo? He's gonna be your little baby Braveheart.
well, that's why I'm worried.
Slaying the zombies.
Why did God give me an apocalyptic man as a child? So
I don't know.
I worry.
That's why this is my plan. That's why this is like I've told Julia like a couple of weeks after we were hanging out. I was like, man, I don't really want a zombie apocalypse to happen, but I really kind of do, because so I can come out and live with you guys.
yeah,
It'd be
you're
so
more
fun.
than welcome.
I know.
You're
I
more than
feel
welcome.
loved and welcome. I would contribute too. I pull my own weight.
Oh, I know you could.
I pull my own weight and but yeah. So I think Theo's just fantastic. All the things you've developed are just so beautiful. They all are so special and different. And
Well, he teaches me. He's learning things and showing me things like I didn't know how that worked.
see, that's why I kind of do think there is something bigger, is because how does Theo have like you're like, how is he, like, I understand genetically how he has like some of your dad in him, but how does he, like, his mind, how is his mind like that, and how does he have the call to do that and the drive to do that? Why is he driving around on the 4-wheeler at midnight,
Nobody knows.
going pulling out big old logs? Last time I was
Could you
here,
see Max doing that?
no,
Never.
He's in bed with his reading glasses, reading an old science fiction novel.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Walter's
It's almost like, are you a Harry Potter fan at all?
I got into it a little bit when my boys were younger, but no, not
Well,
super
you're
big.
familiar with the Horcruxes? So Voldemort split his
Voldemort,
soul into
yes,
7
okay.
shards, and in order to kill his soul, you had to destroy the shards. I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
my soul got split into thirds. Like Max is the
Yeah.
intellectual, Walter's the heart,
Yeah,
and Theo is the madman, which I
Savage,
do
yeah.
have the madman in me, but
Yeah.
it's just not quite the same kind of madman. Like, he's an adrenaline junkie. I was
So
never that way.
curious. I'm so curious to see what they're gonna be like when they're older. I always am like, let me take a picture of you because you guys are growing up so
See,
fast.
I want to slow down time.
I know.
I want to keep him here, and it moves so fast. Like,
Oh, it's
I
so
remember
fast.
crying like a bitch when he lost his first front tooth. I was like, that's the last first front tooth.
Oh.
You know.
See, you're a softie.
I am.
You are a big softie.
I am.
No, you talk. You're intimidating, though. I was a little intimidated to come on here. I really was. Not scared of you. I'm not scared of you, because I think I see like the most gentle, loving, caring, and I see it through your kids, and I see it through you. But you got to admit, you do have a little bit of a tough front.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
I would prefer to have that.
No, I
than
don't
the
think it's a bad
opposite.
thing at all. But at first I was like, why does he want me to come on here? So,
Did you think it was a trap?
no, God, no. No, I wouldn't. No.
What, you overthought that. Let's talk about this.
Okay, you intimidate me, I think, because like your talk with Maxwell is just so intellectual and so smart, and then like you've got these kids that like play instruments and bring bags of knives places, and I'm like, he's gonna be so smart. He's just gonna like be like, what are we gonna talk about? So
It's going well.
I think so.
It's
I love it.
fine.
I'm so glad I did it.
You really overthought this.
I always do.
Oh, is that a thing you do? Like, you overthink things?
I think it's
Like, I overthink things too, just not the like, I don't even think about the podcast until the camera's on. Like, I don't even
Oh,
think
really?
no.
I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if he's going to have a list of questions for me. I wonder, should I make a list of questions for
Nope.
him?
Nope.
So I think part of that is a little bit of, I wonder if like if I would have been tested when I was younger, if I would have been like OCD kind of thing. Like when I was little, I would always organize my closets, like color coordinated. Everything was like perfect. I like made these little tabs for all of our VHSs of like.
Yeah, and do you think conditions like that, and even maybe some ADD and tie into autism?
Yeah, for
that
sure.
autistic spectrum.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
I might be on that a little bit, and so
I
I think that's
definitely
why
have.
I overthink. I think I don't worry, so I don't worry about things, but I think about things. Like I
Right.
think about all the possible scenarios, and then once I've done that, I'm like, okay, you've thought about all the possible scenarios. Now, what are you actually in control of? None of it. So why
Yeah.
don't you just go for it? So I actually love to dive into things I'm uncomfortable in because I'm
Really?
like, yeah. Like I always jump in the water no matter how cold it is. If we
Yeah.
go on a hike and there's water, I'm like, I'm getting in, even if it hurts. I'm
Really?
Getting in. Yes.
So you're saying you want to talk about Trump?
Oh, sure, let's go.
What are your thoughts?
So I think I'm one of those kind of people that I will always work to find a common ground with somebody
Sure.
because I think at the root,
Which is a beautiful thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
if you
think-
can see the other vantage point, then it helps you understand. Yeah.
And I also think it's really important to bridge gaps because I think that there's a lot of, because of social media and because of those things, there's a lot of gaps that are not
100%.
filled.
We're tribal, and if my tribe doesn't believe it, it is the enemy,
Yeah.
and it is on both sides.
And
so we are
Yeah.
completely. I have to believe everything that my party
Yeah.
believes, and if anybody doesn't believe that, you're an other,
Yeah, you're another.
which is bigotry.
Yes. And see, that's where I fall right dead in the center.
Sure,
Like,
me too.
do I think that he is setting out to, well, first, maybe I should say that I favor, and I think my world revolves more around like the left side. Just
Yeah.
so like your viewers
So
know.
does mine.
So your viewers know. But here's where I fall right down the middle is that I think he has bad intentions? Do I think he's trying to hurt our country? Do I think he hates everybody? Do I think he's this, that? No, in a lot of ways I don't think that's the agenda. Do I agree with the way things are being done? Also, no, I don't agree. I think that
That's fair.
I think there's a right and a wrong way to do things.
Right.
I think that one of the biggest things and the reason I think this is because like I remember back in like Bill Clinton and Bush era days, I remember when those happened. I remember, this side wanted their guy to win, this side, but at the end of the day, everybody
It
still
wasn't
came to
nasty.
Yeah,
You could
it
still be
wasn't.
like,
Yeah.
why'd you vote for Bush? Ah, man, because
Yeah.
of the, and it was just a kind of,
Yeah.
it also was taboo to talk about at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Or to,
It was like those things that you don't talk about.
but
And
we didn't hate each other.
no, there wasn't this hate. And I think where it's coming from is I really think it's coming from so much access to people's personal opinions. And so here's what
Everybody has a voice now.
Everybody has a voice.
With social media.
and
And
everybody,
even when they shouldn't.
oh, most of them shouldn't.
Most of them shouldn't.
And so,
Shut
as-
the fuck up.
As a truth seeker and
Yeah.
as somebody who wants to believe in
Yes.
the good of people,
Yes.
if I hear something, I go fact check it. And I'm like, okay, so that's right.
Good.
That's yeah.
Doing research.
I do my research. So I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of him for the fact that just like pretty much if I had to boil it down, people that get that rich, it's hard for me to trust them. I just don't know how somebody gets
Sure.
so rich so quick. I'll tell you this. I like the idea of cutting the budget. Our deficit is the highest. Like
It's gross.
It's
It's embarrassingly gross.
I don't even
how much
know.
waste and fraud is going on.
Yeah. But some of the things that he's doing scares me because of it's a little extreme and a
Okay.
little chaotic, and it seems like it kind of seems a little unprofessional. Like, yes, I think we should trim the fat, and I think that we should get rid of some things, and I think there's a lot of people that have jobs that probably aren't doing very much, and I feel
Right.
like there's a more tactful way to go about it is all.
I feel like he's using a chainsaw instead of a hedge trimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I have a plumbing problem, I'm not going to burn down my house and be like, well, I got to fix the plumbing. I'm going to go in and fix the plumbing. You know, go in it
Sure.
like in a more reasonable way. Like it just, and I don't
But
even.
you would admit that the amount of fraud and waste is staggering.
The amount of fraud and
And
waste
corruption and
is
kickbacks,
staggering.
and that needs to stop. We can agree on
Yes. Yes.
that.
And
Whether you agree with the way he's doing it or not,
Here's-
and your points are valid. I understand
Yeah.
that. They're gonna cut some stuff that might not should be cut. They really need to take
Yeah.
a long look at. And now Doge does not actually have any authority.
yeah.
All they are is a recommendation board.
Yeah.
So Elon can find this stuff, and he will present it to the heads of those departments. But then it's got to go through the proper channels.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can just axe this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So, but see, that's not how media is pitching it, and that's
I
what I
know.
don't like.
I know.
I don't like that they're doing like so. It's like this fear propaganda of like
Right.
everybody's got to lose their jobs and
You nailed it.
they're
Fear
gonna kill all the
propaganda.
transgender people and blah blah blah. And I'm just like,
Which is
and
a
it
ridiculous notion.
It's so, but they make it sound
But
so
they really
scary.
believe it.
Yeah.
I've got a family member who said, you know, he thought he was going to get rounded up in a camp once Trump got
Yeah.
elected, and it's like, bro.
yeah.
Like the media, but if you think about it, if you think about legacy media is corrupt from the onset because your customers are not your viewers. Your customers are your advertisers, right?
Yeah. Who's paying you? Who pays the bills? Right.
So your advertisers dictate the
Yeah.
policy
Yeah.
that you espouse. The people who are actually on camera are not talented people. They are personalities that are reading a script that a producer wrote
Yeah.
that Pfizer approved.
Yeah.
So it's all bullshit. And that's why I think the podcast is taking the place of legacy media right now because I don't have anything to gain. I just want the truth.
Yeah. I want to know.
I don't want your bullshit. And I can include Fox News in this.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. I do diligent with watching both sides. Both sides honestly kind of make me sick, and
Agreed.
and both sides I'm like, I wish there was a middle ground. I don't know if you know anything about 1440. I'm trying to get people's opinion on that.
I don't.
So 1440 is something that's coming out. It's like it's a news thing, and it's like you can click to see the right side, the left side, and then you can click like just like kind of like the facts and stuff. And so I haven't signed up for it yet because it's not expensive. It's like $99 or 99 cents a month or something like that. But I might get it for a little bit and just see, because like I'm like I appreciate everybody that everyone has an opinion, and I'm glad. I think that's what makes things happen, and people are entitled to that. But also like when it's coming to like my government and like my people. Like I want to know the facts of how this is really going to affect us. I don't want to know
100%,
how
yeah.
you feel about Trump or how you feel about Biden,
right.
or if he's Sleepy Joe or he's a fascist racist. But I don't. Those are your opinions, okay? I've never sat down with Joe Biden or Donald Trump.
Sure.
I'm not going to make assumptions about them. I can tell you.
But see, that's a very open-minded thing.
Yeah.
But what you have is a lot of people,
Who
and this has
aren't.
happened to me many, many times. You're a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
And every name in the book, you're a transphobe, you're a homophobe, and all these things because I support Trump. It's like, that is bigotry. And you're coming from the tolerant left, and you're calling me these things without even knowing who I am.
Yeah.
And that is bigotry, and bigotry, regardless of what side you're on, needs to stop.
wrong.
We need to stop judging people for their political beliefs or whatever. We're all brothers and sisters. Man, if we could just get over that shit,
Yeah.
think about the things we could accomplish.
It'd be
Like
it'd be
people are losing
mind-boggling.
family members and friends
I
over
know.
this.
I know.
Like,
I
there's
refuse.
people who refuse to come on my podcast because of
Yeah,
it.
I heard.
Yeah,
That's
and that's why I
ridiculous.
think you're. Why I want to talk to you so much is because I know you're not a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
But I know you can sit down and just have an honest
Yeah.
conversation without either of us getting
Yeah.
upset. And I think your criticisms are valid.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of criticisms for Trump. There's a lot
Yeah.
of things he does that piss me off that
Yeah.
But people tell me I'm a bootlicker and I'm sucking Trump's cock all the time and I worship Trump.
And that's where it's wrong, is that they're by separating yourself from people you disagree with, you learn nothing.
Well,
You
you're
don't-
making the other side an other.
Yeah,
And the
it-
other is an enemy.
And it's so much separation and division, and I don't know why we have that right now.
Yeah.
I didn't feel this under the Biden administration, and so I don't know where it's coming from, because we had social media then, and I don't know, maybe you did you feel it during the Biden administration?
Feel
like
what?
just like this division, like this. Did you? Because like
I felt the division. Well, it didn't personally affect me until after the most recent election.
okay. Yeah,
And
that's
when
yeah.
I started getting a lot of hate and name calling toward
Yeah.
me.
This recent election it's been brutal.
Yeah,
it's been brutal.
but also, if you just step back and look at it with no emotion, the
Mm-hmm.
left ran a terrible campaign. There was nothing they believed in, and Trump is promising taking America back to its glory days, which I love. We are a corrupt nation. We are an empire. We are fucking with every other country's shit.
Mm-hmm.
We're regime changing people. We need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stop fucking around like that and bring it back in.
Well, so I really do agree with that too. I like the idea of doing the American made, like being more self-sufficient. So I really do like that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I like that. But the tariff thing scares me, because like even Ronald Reagan warned, like if you jack up the tariffs, you're going to get into a trade war, and then
Sure.
all of a sudden it just is not going to end well. So that's why I'm saying, like, I like the idea, but I don't really like the way it's going about. Like, I just feel like with people that like they're like, I'm not political, and honestly, I can tell you, I mean, I am political, but I'm telling you, I don't have very much knowledge about it.
Sure.
As of like the last
But you're
year
also
or
not
so.
going out and posting shit.
Oh God, no.
And trying
Yeah.
to own people
No.
and calling them names.
Yeah, and I do, and
You
I
acknowledge you don't
yeah.
have the
yeah,
expertise.
I
or-
don't. Yeah, and if I don't know something, I have no ego. I'm not going to sit here and go, "Oh
Sure.
yeah, I know that." You know, I'm like going to be like, "I don't know. I'll have to look into that."
Right.
You know, so I actually welcome it. Like my friends that are think differently than me, I'm like,
Yeah.
send me anything. I want to
Agreed.
know. I want to know.
If you're a truth seeker, if your argument is wrong,
Yeah.
wouldn't you want to know
Yeah.
and then have a better argument?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and wouldn't you want to know so that you're not out there? Like, I'm embarrassed if I say something and then somebody calls me on it, and I'm like, "Oh,
I
shouldn't
wrong.
have said that. I was wrong. I'm so sorry." So I think I'm really wanting to connect with people that from the other side, because number
Yeah,
one, they're
yeah.
not on the other side. You
No.
are my people. You
Yeah,
are my
yeah.
person, and it does like. I think that we should build a troop of truth seekers instead, and like unite and make the government work for us. Like they are
Yes.
paid employees that are supposed.
Yes.
They're not supposed to have their own agenda. Their agenda is us.
Our
we are
agenda.
paying their bills.
Right.
We are paying their paychecks. Like they should only be doing, and like people that like post all day but don't make a fucking phone call. I'm like, if you're so mad about this, call your senator. Call your congressman. Call
Yeah.
somebody and make a call.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's a phone number and they pick up. Or there's a voicemail and you can call and say, "Hey, I want to oppose this act.
Yeah.
Hey, I like this. Hey, I don't like this."
And
You
there
know?
is intolerance on both sides.
So
Absolutely.
much intolerance on tolerance.
And I
Yeah.
see it, and they're both wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the word tolerance means you tolerate it. It doesn't mean you have to like it,
Yeah.
but
No,
you tolerate
exactly.
it because it's, you know,
Yeah.
if
Yeah, my kids do things and say things that are so annoying, and I'm just like, you know what? I tolerate it because
right,
I
but you
love
wouldn't start
them.
hating them
I don't
for
hate
it.
my kids
Right.
because I'm like, oh, that's a stupid choice, or this is dumb music, or that's a dumb show. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Well, I've tried to eliminate because I'm always trying to get, you know, if I can get 1% better every day, or just do one
Yeah,
thing better.
exactly.
And so I used to use the word hate. Like, I hate this or I hate that. Like, I'm trying to eliminate that word from my vocabulary.
It's a strong word.
It is, and we use it too casually.
Yes.
And I'm trying to eliminate it not only from myself,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hate anyone or anything,
Yeah, I love that.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to use the word either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a very strong
Mm-hmm.
oppositional word. And I think if people would just think, is what I'm putting out into the world positive or negative?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's negative, it's kind of like that. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it.
anything at all. Yeah.
If you're putting negativity out there,
Mhm.
don't.
yeah.
Why?
If you have
If you're
some-
putting positive vibes out,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But I think that we can't blame politicians for the bullshit that's going on in our country right
Yeah.
now, hating on each other.
Yeah,
That's
it's
an
the
us
media,
problem.
yeah.
We need to learn to love each other and support each other and have conversations. Like if somebody won't come on my podcast because of me voting for Trump, are we furthering?
Yeah, what's gained? Nothing is gained.
You're just othering me because I believed it. You're making assumptions about me without getting to know me. Whereas if we sat down and had a conversation, I bet we'd have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I always try to remember. I try to remember that, like, as far as like politicians go, is that you and I have so much more in common than either of us will ever have in common with any politician.
And they don't even know who the fuck we are.
No, and
They
their
don't care about
lifestyle,
us.
the way they're raised, and everything is so different from the way
Sure.
we're raised. And like, I don't even if we were to sit down with like one of the most like personable ones, like Reagan or something like that, like somebody who like everybody loved Reagan. So it's like I think that even him, we would have like nothing to talk about with him, whereas you and I could probably talk for 4 days straight and not stop. And that's where I feel like that's why I'm struggling through this one, is I feel like it's chaotic, and I feel like it's fear, and I feel like it's creating this division that I don't like, and that's why I'm not doing it. I refuse. I'm not going to. Do I like Trump? No. Do I think that some of his things might be good? Maybe. I don't know very much about politics.
But you could acknowledge if Trump saved a baby from a pedophile, you could acknowledge that was a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like if he did that now, the left would spin it into something horrible.
Yeah.
Like they just can't say
Yeah.
anything good
Oh, I
about the
know.
other side because we're in these tribes.
Yeah.
And it's like if it's not my tribe, then it's
Then
bad
it's the other
thing.
tribe and it's bad. I know.
Right.
I saw somebody be like,
Nobody can acknowledge any of the great things Trump's done, and he's done a lot of great things. He's done some stupid bullshit too.
yeah,
But they assume that I won't call him out on that stuff when I have many times.
yeah.
But you know,
But that's how it should be. You should hold your politicians accountable.
this Epstein file shit
Yeah.
was a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
And that was humiliating for the whole administration.
Yeah.
Like you're out there bragging, oh, we're gonna release the Epstein files, and then you have a bunch of fucking YouTubers coming out of the White House holding this thing up like it's a trophy. You understand this is about underage girls who were raped.
Yeah,
Right?
it's not
This is
cool.
not some fucking
Show
reality
yeah,
show.
Yeah, yeah.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, that
and I was
thing is
disgusted
gross.
by it. And it was nothing we hadn't seen before. And then Pam Bondi says, "Oh, well, they held 10,000 pages and all this evidence." I knew that before you got into
Yeah.
office. How did you not know that?
That's why I'm saying, I'm like,
So
how
then
can
she
somebody
sends
that has nothing to do with politics, I'm
Yeah.
like, I might have nothing to do with this. I'm like, how can I know more about this than that? Like in his address to Congress, he said they saved $8 million in the budget from transgendered mice, and it was transgenic mice. And I was
I
like,
have been looking into that because I had a lot of my liberal friends saying, "Hey, they fucked this up," and yeah, they did. From what I can tell right now, transgenic and transgender absolutely different things.
oh yeah, transgenic
And
is
that-
mean that they're test. It's mice that they have biologically like developed to try their different
Right.
things on, and so it's like, but he said it. I watched the speech and he's like, they're doing this. It's real. They're really doing this, and I'm like, what? So I had to fact check that, and I was like, oh.
I
was
also
like,
fact checked it, and he was wrong.
yeah, but
But
you know
I,
what?
as a Trump supporter, I can admit.
But he was right on the fact that there's less border crossings in February than any other. So
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the chart. It just went. Joink.
yeah, it is.
What,
it's
what
way
do you
less.
feel about the immigration thing? What is your thought on
Such a
just
broken
wide open
system.
borders, letting anyone come over here?
So I think the immigration, if they were gonna do wide open borders, I think that before they do that, they need some very serious almost like gut and redo the whole policy, because
Yeah.
I think that I feel like I personally like the no borders thing for the entire world, but there needs to be people need to be paying
Well, that's
taxes.
the liberal in you, the kind
Yeah.
person. Everybody should be able to go wherever they want
But
and
I
have a
don't-
better life.
yeah.
And I'm with you, but they're funneling terrorist organizations and
exactly.
criminals and cartel
there has to
members
be-
and sex traffickers.
Yeah.
And people coming over are sex trafficked women.
Yeah.
Like it's
It is
really
bad.
heinous.
Yeah, and that's why I think if they're gonna do that, which I don't think that they should do that, but I just think the whole immigration thing needs a makeover. The
An
whole
overhaul.
thing, yeah, because they've got people
It takes
sitting.
years
Yeah,
to get
There's people, but they have people that they've been holding, and we're paying taxes on people that they're holding because there's so many flaws in the system where it's like this person could have been working and paying taxes and contributing.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so why are we holding them? So that's
Yeah.
wasting money. So like either send them back or like let's push this through. There's so many things I just don't know enough about
Right.
those things, but I know that if somebody was to put me in charge of that and be like, here's our problems, here's our budget, here's this, I know that I could figure it out. And that's what bugs me. I'm like, how can a professional who has their degree in this not be able to find a way after all this time? How can you not find a way? If you had studied immigration policies and this was what you had your degree in, and this is what you've been doing for the last 15 years, how could you not find a better way to make this like, okay, let's get these people in, let's get them working, let's get them paying taxes, let's make this country great?
Well, I think it's because there's an agenda behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's an intentional thing. I absolutely do. I think part of it is
What I'm curious why you think what the intention is, like just letting anybody in, or
no. I think it's a number of things, and these are my beliefs. And I could be wrong, but that just based on the evidence I've seen, I think one, illegal labor is cheap,
yes,
especially for contractors.
yes,
And Americans want good wages
Yes.
and benefits and these things.
yes,
These people are willing to come over here and work their ass off for nothing,
mm-hmm.
and it's better than what they had there.
yeah,
So if you start, rounding these people up, these businesses are having to pay way more money.
mm-hmm.
People want gardeners and they want construction workers.
Mm-hmm.
They want illegal immigrants
Yeah.
working for them because they pay them cash, they pay them cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's part a workforce thing. I think another piece of it is to overwhelm certain districts because the census doesn't go off of citizenship, it goes off population. And the more population you have, the more representatives you have. And so if you can overwhelm certain counties with illegals that count in the census, you get more representation.
Okay.
Therefore you're essentially trying to rig elections.
okay,
I think that's another piece of it. I think it gets even more sinister than that. I think there are people who are getting kickbacks and are involved in sex traffic. Sex traffic to me is one of the big things that's been going on. So a lot of the people that are coming over from the border with these cartels, they're selling their daughters
mm-hmm.
into this,
Mm-hmm.
and they're giving everything they have to get up into this country.
Mm-hmm.
But these girls get shipped into places with these grown men who are using them for
Yeah,
sex
yeah.
and filming it and all kinds of heinous acts, which is
disgusting.
disgusting.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a factor of it. I think there's a number of factors, and a lot of people are using it for different things. But do we have a bad like, how long does it take? If you want to come to America the right way, it takes a lot of money and a lot of
So
time.
long, I
Right.
know.
That
I'm like,
needs to be fixed.
That's what needs to be fixed. Is
Agreed.
Because I
We gotta fix it on the front
I
end.
think everybody can agree that nobody wants
Like if
or
you don't have
approves
a
of
criminal
sex trafficking. Yeah.
background and we don't have any associated ties with
Yeah.
cartels, and you seem to be a decent person,
Yeah.
maybe
Sure.
you don't get citizenship, but you can come up here.
Yeah, start working and work towards your citizenship.
Sure.
There just needs to be a better way because sex trafficking just like that is so gross. It needs to like
How much does that hurt your soul?
so much.
What was the movie that came out a couple years ago?
I had to stop in the middle of it because
I couldn't even watch it. I wouldn't watch it.
I was like, I thought I'd watch it to like see if it was like if it like taught me something and like.
What was it called though? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, no! I feel like I've blocked it from my
Yeah.
mind.
You talk. I'll look it up.
Okay. Yeah, I started that movie and just like kind of thinking like, oh, let's see, I don't know anything. I didn't know anything about the movie, and I started it, and it was just like I worked.
Where did you watch? Like, did you watch it on streaming or did you watch
yeah,
it in
I watched
theaters?
it on like HBO or oh god, no, never
Because
in a
it was
theater.
out in theaters for a while.
Oh, that's so fucking creepy.
I had a buddy that went and saw it, and he said there were
Ooh.
grown men in the theater just weeping.
Oh yeah, I
Like-
had tears in my eyes, and I think I made it through about like 20-30 minutes of it before I was just like, I don't need to watch anymore. I don't need to watch anymore. It is.
Well, that guy, the guy that runs a lot of that stuff, has been on Tim Pool several times talking about the stories. Big, tough, ex-military dude, and he'll be telling the story about going in and saving these kids, and this dude will just break down, and you can just tell it's so heinous. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine I think people need more empathy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, put yourself in that
In that
situation. So, for example, like in social media, everybody's like, "Oh, be aware of mental health and mental
Aware of
health,
this,
this,
yeah,
and let's use it as our identity," like we were talking about earlier. But then you'll just go out and shit on somebody and call them all these names.
Without knowing
How many
anything.
suicides have happened
I
because of
know.
social media and name
Oh,
calling?
So many. So
It put
sad.
me in a negative space for a
Yeah,
while
yeah.
because I was like, I'm getting called all these names, and they don't even know me, and it
Yeah.
made me very depressed. I had a long spell of depression, and I almost wanted to quit the show, just like because I'm just getting all these. I'm like, they don't even know who I am, and it made me like really upset.
Yeah, that is sad.
And then I realized like I can't take this personally.
Yeah.
This is just these are uneducated people
No, people
or
are
hateful people.
so powerful behind a keyboard. They're so powerful, but then face to face,
Agreed.
yeah. I'd like to
Agreed.
see him come say that to your
And
face.
when you're in the comments on these threads and you're getting all the hate at you, you also see the right doing it to the left. You libtard faggot or whatever, you know, it's the same shit.
Snowflake, and
The
I'm
sa-
like,
yeah.
oh gosh.
And now, I mean, I do think we are much weaker as a
We
country.
We're
We
all
are a lot of
snowflakes.
snowflakes.
I know,
So-
it is a bunch.
but
we
it
are.
gets nasty.
It does.
Either way.
I find myself just like I kind of always just kind of found myself as like a walking talking paradox. Like I see how both things
Yeah.
can be true at the same time.
You know, that's a sign of genius, holding two ideas.
Is it really?
Two opposing ideas in your
No,
mind
I
at once.
didn't.
Yeah.
I always, even when I was a kid, I would see a car get pulled over by a policeman, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad the policeman caught that guy. And I'm like, what if they have the wrong guy? What if that's a really nice guy and that guy didn't? And then I'm like, oh, but and then I'm like, or what? I always will spin it in my before I make an assumption. Like you can't help but naturally just like see somebody and make an assumption or have a judgment in your
Sure.
head. You can't help that. But every time I start to do that, or if I see somebody speeding,
What
and
could
I'm
their
like,
situation be?
I'm like, what the fuck? That guy's speeding. What a jerk. And then I'm like, oh, what if his wife is pregnant? Or what if his kid is in the hospital? And I imagine this big scenario in my head, and it makes me just instantly so empathetic towards them. Sound of Freedom, yes.
Sound of Freedom.
I was like, is Homeward Bound? But no. That was the first one that came into my head. Totally different.
Totally different
But it was
movie,
like,
people. Not the right one.
oh, that's really good.
Hey.
Oh, that's super good. You could go on SNL.
I could. I'm no Shane Gillis. Shane's got the best
Oh,
Trump, and he
he's
was
the-
on there. You know Shane Gillis?
No.
He was on Saturday Night Live, I think last week.
What?
So
I'm on Saturday Night Live every week.
his story is that he had a podcast
Uh-huh.
and he made a racial joke against Asians, which was hilarious. And nobody really watched the podcast. It was kind of a small podcast. Well, then he gets hired on to be part of the SNL cast.
Oh,
So it's
God.
announced. Shane Gillis coming on to SNL. He's a comedian. You know, he's from Pennsylvania. And then some douchebag went and scrolled through every one of his podcasts and found this one Asian joke and released it. And then because we are such cancel culture pussies, Saturday Night Live said, "Oh, in light of this," and the joke was funny.
Yeah.
Like jokes are jokes, people.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so he got fired before he even aired an episode.
Oh.
Well, Joe Rogan found out about it and had this guy on his podcast
Uh-huh.
to tell the story about it.
Uh-huh.
And now him and Joe Rogan are friends. Shane actually lives in Austin now. He's part of Joe Rogan's Protect Our Parks group, which is him and 3 other comedians, and they do 3 or 4 episodes a year, which is just them getting drunk and high and talking shit and laughing.
Like protect like national parks or their
Well,
city
the
parks?
first episode they ever did, there was like some park in New York that they were
Oh,
trying
okay.
to protect, and it just
Sweet.
became kind of a joke. Like that's what they call the episodes.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, Shane Gillis, now after the culture has shifted and we're coming out of this cancel culture kind of
Thank God.
bullshit,
I hate cancel culture.
Saturday Night Live had him on to host a while back,
Good.
and it was like, yes, this is change. Like
Mm-hmm.
you fired him for a joke, and now you're correcting, you're course correcting,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, hey, we made a mistake. Come on and host. Well, then they had him on again this last week, and like it's just really beautiful to see because comedy was dead for, I would say, after Obama got into office, and all the sensitivity stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like race relations when I was growing
Yeah.
up, when you were growing up in the 80s and 90s, I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
When you have rednecks bumping to Dr. Dre wearing a Michael Jordan jersey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's not racism
No.
to me.
No.
And these are rednecks,
Yeah.
right? I felt like they were in a good place.
Yeah.
But now we're in a worse place.
Yeah. I think the cancel culture hurts a lot because it's kind of like what's going on is it's like instead of like confronting and talking this out and like, you know, or hearing somebody out, it's just like cancel. And I'm just like,
Absolutely.
and
I
that's
don't
what-
want to hear. I'm too sensitive to even
Yeah,
hear this.
yeah.
So make it go away.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's no growth, there's no learning, there's no building bridges through that.
Right.
And yes, I think people should be accountable of their things because
Agreed.
like you were saying, people, you don't know what somebody's been through, you don't know what kind of day
Right.
they've had, you don't know, you know, if they're sensitive to this because they lost that person, or if
Mm-hmm.
this, or if they've been molested, or if they, you know, you don't
Right.
know, because some, you know, sometimes comedians will make jokes about that.
Right.
And that's a really sensitive subject. And I'm
Sure.
like, that's not really that funny. But it's, you know, to me, it might be funny. That's never happened to me.
I don't
so,
know. I mean, my uncle taught me how to milk a cow blindfolded when I was 4.
Oh, God. I don't know. No. Gross. That's so gross. You could talk
You're
about
laughing, though.
I know, but it's gross.
It's hilarious.
It is funny. My dad, yeah, you could talk to my dad. My dad's chasing these jokes. But, yeah, I don't think you should cancel somebody. I think you should hold
Right.
them accountable.
Well,
And make
it's
it
dangerous to censor ideas.
Yeah.
If you're trying to suppress an idea,
Yeah.
that means you're afraid of that idea.
Yeah.
Right? And so the censorship that went on with Trump and all the in 2020, I mean, if you're trying to censor anybody
Mm-hmm.
and their voice, it ends up, and we know this now, it ends up backfiring.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's bigger than ever. I didn't even know who Alex Jones was until he got banned from every platform. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Tate, not a big fan, but I didn't know who he was until people started going after him. So
I
it's
didn't know who he was until all that stuff happened too. So I'm not a fan of him. But
No, I think he's a gross person.
Yeah,
Does he
he's
have some
gross.
good ideas that I agree with? Yes. I agree
Yeah.
with some of the things he says.
Yeah.
Half the shit, I'm like, you're a psychopath.
yeah,
But I can still, like, you're never going to agree with anyone 100%. Not your
100%.
best friend, not your wife, not your kids. No one is going to agree on anything 100%.
yeah,
So
They're
why
really
are we
not.
hating each other
yeah.
for a few different things? You know, it's like Ben Shapiro's a good example. I can't stand his policies on a lot of things, but when it comes to like finance shit and stuff like that, I'm like, that's my guy. You know,
Well,
Jews know money.
yeah,
This is true, people.
they do. They're good at it. That's what they. You know, it is.
Jokes,
it's
people, but it's true.
Well, it's culturally. I mean, I don't even think it's a joke. I mean, that's if you behind the money, they are really good at
No,
that. That's what.
It's a stereotypes exist for a reason.
Yeah,
Also, like
yeah.
people are like, we're in such a fucked
I don't
up
think
world.
it's bad that they are. I think that, and I don't think it's bad
Right.
that. Yeah, I don't know. With the stereotype things, I think some people are really sensitive about it, and they might have good reason to be. So I try to be like, you know, I try to be respectful of that. But also at the same time, yeah, they do exist for a reason. But even stereotyping is one of those things that can put you in that cancel culture group. Like if you're gonna stereotype and say this or
Right.
that, it's gonna it can. I don't know.
It's dangerous.
I try to stay on a neutral side because I find that I can reach people and hear them out and get on their level and create some bridges and connect some dots that way.
Well,
so,
that's what I love about you. You have a beautiful soul, and you're willing to hear anybody out.
I'll
and
hear
and
anybody
we
out.
need, you know, my question has been, how do we get out of this? Like,
Yeah.
how do we get out of the position we're in right now? And it's this right here.
I was gonna say I think it's exactly what
This
we're doing
is the way.
I wish people would talk to people that they're scared to talk to.
Seek to understand their point of
Yes,
view.
yes.
It gives you empathy.
Yes.
And then you can see it from that perspective.
Yes.
And now we find a common ground.
Yes.
We may still disagree.
Yeah. Well,
Because
yeah.
I think a lot of what's going on now is just like masculinity has been under attack for a long time.
Yes.
Do toxic males exist, and did they exist for a long time? Absolutely.
Yes. But are all men toxic?
Absolutely
Absolutely not.
But activism has a goal, right? So if you're activist for gay marriage, right, you achieve said goal, do you stop there or do you just keep going?
Yeah.
They kept going with anything. So because you're getting funding, you have to continue to push those boundaries.
Yeah.
And so when people said, "Hey, gay marriage is a slippery slope," you know, I rolled my eyes like, "Oh, dude, all they want is the same rights
Yeah.
we have. Like, who
Yeah.
cares?"
Yeah. Who cares?
But it turned out to be a slippery slope because now we're cutting kids' dicks off.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's been
Yeah.
one of those things where it got out of control.
That's a statement that said, so this is where I think there'll be some controversy, is that he said, your kids are going to school this way and coming home, you're going to school a boy and coming home a girl, and that's not true at all. Like, I have to sign a waiver. Like, Max wanted to watch a PG movie in his class at Thanksgiving, and I had to like sign, and his teacher was like, hey, Max didn't get this sheet signed, is it okay if he does this? So they're not, you can't send your kid to school and get a sex trans, they're not going to do that. They're not going to get a sex change at school.
No, not at school, but the surgeries are happening.
The surgeries are happening, and I disagree with it with children.
Agree.
So some people, like, because I know that...
That's the only reason I disagree with it.
Yeah.
Because your mind is not formed.
Yeah.
You're making a lifetime decision.
Yeah, but when a ton of hormones are going through your body...
Right, at the most confusing
time. There's a lot of influence online.
Right.
So that's... My only thing with that is like... But you know what? It doesn't even stop there. I don't like any sexual stuff with kids.
Agreed.
I don't think you should... I don't even like to talk to kids about anything sexual. So
no, and we were talking earlier about the cursing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when my kids were watching movies, like, to me, violence and cursing, I don't give a shit about.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sex.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my kids to even know that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be kids,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But then, like when Max and I had the talk, he was 12 and it happened organically.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was like, all right, now the lid's off. You can just whatever,
Yeah.
And so Walt's. We're about to probably have that talk with him. What was that talk like with? Did you have that talk with Alex, or did his dad?
So I would
How'd
also
that
say
go?
it's very organic. They don't talk to that kind of stuff with their dad really. I'm just really open. I'm an easy person to talk to, and so they feel more comfortable, about that. So, they asked me like where babies come from, and when they were little.
Yeah.
So, where did the babies come from? I go, oh well, the dads have seeds in their nutsack, and they put it inside the mom's belly, and it grows the seeds. The seeds are in your nuts.
So you just
So straight up told him that. I didn't tell him how the seed got into the belly and how it got into the womb.
Oh, that's so great.
And so, but they kind of
Because nuts are seeds.
Yeah, it's like your
That's
little nutsack has a little seed in it,
That's
and I was
fantastic.
like, and honestly, I think it happened because I think that they were like trying to kick each other, and I was like, don't, my grandbabies are in there, and I think that's probably how it started. And so they are, my grandbabies are all in there, and so it probably started like that. But it all happened so it's always been really open in my house, because I am a single mom and a woman, and I have 2 boys. Like, we have open door policy. So like, I'll be going to the bathroom and they come in and they talk to me, or I'll take a bath and they come in and talk to me. Like, it's them seeing me naked is like, they don't bat an eyelash, like not an eyelash. Like, I'll be in the shower and they'll just walk in and be like, hey mom, can I blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I guess. It's so natural because we camped a lot.
I mean, that weirds me out a little bit, but I see where you're.
It does weird out people.
But I see where you're coming from.
It does weird out a lot of people, and that's okay, because especially
I don't want my kids seeing my junk.
Yeah.
Like me personally.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that so when the boys were little, that like very little, like 2 and 4 or 5, I just am kind of wild in the fact that I just like get this wild hair and I just want to take off, and I'm like, I've got to get out of here. And so I have a van, which is nice, just a minivan, and I throw all of our camping stuff in it.
That's the one with no windows and the free candy painted on the side?
No, gosh, no.
God,
no.
Sorry, I had to confuse somebody else.
Oh gosh, whoa. Who else have we got on this podcast? Jokes, people. No, so I just throw everything in the van and we go camping. And when you're camping and you're in this little car or you're in a tent or something with your kids, I'm not like, okay, look away, I don't want you to see my nipples, and they were little kids, and so so we just saw them like,
it's just a human body.
Yeah, it's
not a big
it's a
deal.
body, and so they just grew up like that, and it never became weird. And so they were 3 years old, and they walk into me on the tub, and then they're 4 years old, and then 5 and 6, and and it's still not weird to them, and they don't care, and like that, they're actually quite gross.
Well, I have a different perspective, because when we saw the ultrasound with Maxwell, our doctor said your baby is part mule.
What?
Things longer than the umbilical cord, and so now it's like I can't ever let him see this. And I don't want to see what he's got, but I saw that ultrasound and I was ashamed.
Oh, now I know that.
And well, now the world does. But I'm embarrassed to even be in his presence sometimes, because goddamn.
Oh gosh. I
I've
can't
come
stand
to
that.
terms with it. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it now.
That's
you
what
know?
you made that. That's part of
You
you.
know? Well, I think that came from the Masato side. That ain't the Durham side.
You know what? I'm glad that they just look at it like a body because
No,
I
and,
think
and your point's valid. Like,
I think whenever
you're normalizing the human body
Yes.
instead of making it
like taboo, like oh.
Right.
So you know what? My kids, I don't have any issues with porn. I don't have any issues of those. Like they don't ever sneak off and do that. Like I have had sleepovers where like some of the kids that are sleeping over are trying to get the boys to watch it, and they're like, no, why? No, why? That's not.
Let's talk about porn for a minute because there's two very different sides. The hard right says it's dangerous and it sets up false expectations and all these things, and then obviously the other side is about kink and all. You know, like as somebody in the middle, like I don't think porn is dangerous. Like, so as a dude, like I would like to have sex 23 times a week.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
That's not realistic. So you settle with a number and you find that number. But in the off times, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to go rub one out? Pop up a little video? Find somebody that looks just like your wife, right?
Of course.
Obviously.
Your wife is hot.
Yeah, she's pretty fun.
She's so
Uh,
hot. If
she
I could
aged
make
well.
if I could make myself a lesbian, I would make myself a lesbian and marry her, and I've told her that before. So
Well, if you guys want to perform
no,
lesbian activities, I'd watch.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm not a lesbian. I wish I could be, but I'm not. But no, I'm really open-minded here. So I think that sex is really great and really healthy.
Yeah.
I also am
Well,
somebody.
it can be. It can also be
It
like,
can
really
also
traumatic.
be. It can
and-
be
and
terrible.
awful.
There's
Yeah.
terrible sides of it, and there's great sides of
Because
it.
they say everything is about what is the phrase? I'm trying to think of it. Like basically, everything is about sex, and sex is about power, about control. It
Yeah.
can be.
It can be. I don't. That's not how I use it, but
No, obviously
yeah,
not. But like a lot of people view it that
yeah,
way, which is
I
a
think
very
from the
dangerous way.
masculine side, that's I think it's more of a power
Right.
side. Like to me, it's not. But
Yeah.
but I am somebody that enjoys sex. I love sex, and I'm also somebody. I think like I feel like my libido is a lot higher than the average.
And
like,
that's a
woman.
variable for everybody,
Yeah.
men and women. Some
Oh
men
yeah,
aren't very
and I think it depends on your hormones and your levels and stuff like that.
absolutely,
And so
your age and all.
yeah, yeah, and so I don't think porn is bad. I think that if
It
you're
can be. I think it can, like anything you said earlier, moderation.
I think if it's intentional and you're using it for, and you're a grown up, this is where I feel very strongly about, like, I'm very open minded when it comes to an adult making choices like this, an adult watching stuff like that, and
Right.
you know, using it as a healthy part of their lifestyle. And kids, I just feel the complete opposite. I think keep them young. They don't need to see any of that. They don't need to know
Yeah.
about that and stuff until they're older. And I also think porn
Certainly when they're young.
porn
Yeah.
can set and this is what I've told my boys. I've told them, I said, if you want to watch it, I want you to talk to me first, and I want to find something that is more realistic and ethical, because like some of the porn
You're not like getting granular. Like, you see right there, son, she's using her teeth. You should never.
no, I don't do that.
You're not.
No,
okay.
I haven't even, thankfully, I haven't even come to that yet. Alex told me he's not ready to have sex, and, you know, because I check in with him about that. I check in with my kids on everything, and I check in, and he's like, I'm not ready for that. I don't think I'm going to be ready till 17 or 18. And I think that's why.
Is that something different with this generation of kids?
I don't know.
Like, my buddy Neil, I'll tell a story.
Uh-oh. Sorry,
he's,
Neil.
He's my buddy that passed a while back
Oh,
that I was
okay.
telling you about. But he was talking about when, you know, he was 16, he'd go over, wake up and open the door and just, where's the pussy at today?
Oh, gross.
You know, I mean, 'cause dudes, like, we wanted, like, that was my entire existence at that
I
age. Was
know.
like, I want to fuck.
Yeah, I feel like kids
With-
had sex younger when I was young. I remember,
Yeah.
like, my friends were, like, 14,
We've
15.
gotten more responsible
I
about
know.
that somehow, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that is good, because there's a lot of weird connections and emotional things that go into it that can kind of mess with you,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
it's best to go into it when you're older and stuff like that. But yeah, my kids don't have a desire to, and I think it's because I've had like an open door policy, and we talk about these things. And if you're feeling the need for this, you know, like let's talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
find some, like, I don't want them. Porn serves a purpose sometimes, you know.
I agree.
Like, it can serve a purpose, and so I don't think that it's all bad. I think that there's a documentary I watched about, like, kind of like the hazing process that girls go through to get to even be in a film, and it's quite awful. It's quite
Oh,
awful.
you're talking about in the porn industry?
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah.
Oh my God! What?
There was a Netflix documentary. It was several years ago, because like
I
porn
don't
was
think I
always
could
kind of.
watch that.
It was kind of funny to like porn was always kind of funny to me because like the music and the mustache.
Oh, the
and
mustache!
the music, the mustaches,
Dude, the porn stash.
and there's all the like the don't ding don't like
Oh,
the
yeah.
music would always
The
come on and you're
music.
like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah. But we as kid, when I was a kid, like we watched, it was a movie. You know,
Yeah, they were
nowadays
movies.
it's just a 3-minute clip, and you're
Yeah.
just banging it out. But back
Yeah.
then, it was an art form.
Yeah, and it used to. I don't know. I do feel like it's different. So I think it serves
Yeah.
a purpose. Definitely the right time and place. Definitely in moderation. Definitely
Yeah.
make sure that you're sourcing it ethically. Because
But also realize not every girl is going to do double anal.
and also
like, it-
realize they don't all have boobs like that, and they're not all shaved like that, and they're not all trimmed like that. Because like vulva insecurity or vulva, what is it called? It's like where they are. Like so, like women like wanting to get labiaplasty and stuff like that
What
because
is a labiaplasty?
it's where they get plastic surgery to trim their vulva to look like porn stars because porn stars get that it trimmed so that they look so that there's not stuff.
Really?
Oh God, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
No, labiaplasty is huge. So vulva acceptance is a huge thing.
I'm
like
getting my mind blown here, people. I don't know anything
okay,
about
so
it.
there's a lady on Instagram that I follow, and she does vulva castings, and it's a way. Oh, this is huge in Europe. Like, there's tons of places.
Never even heard about this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah.
What the
So they
hell are you talking
do
about?
they do vulva castings to help women be more accepting of like how like I don't think you understand how many different kinds like penises. There are a lot of different like variations of penises. Like long, short, thick, thin, like curve, no curve, up
Right,
curve,
right,
down
right.
curve, all this stuff. Cut and uncut and stuff like that. But for vulvas, it's even more.
Hold
It's
on,
like
what,
every-
the vulva is what specifically?
Oh, Bradley, you're married.
I'm an idiot.
You can
Wait,
explore on
vulva
Julia a
is
little
what
bit.
part of it?
The outside.
Yeah, it's just the
The
outside.
outside
The
of it.
labia is the lips.
Well, the vulva is the labia majora and the labia minora. So the majora
Yo,
is the out.
scientific terms.
Well, these are things that people should know. So that this is actually
I
it's
probably
called
should have known this a long
vulva
time ago.
insecurity. A lot of women suffer because
I've never heard of this.
because like their labia will be longer or one side is longer than the other or some
So it's almost the same as guys having a small dick and being insecure about it.
Exactly. It's exactly
Wow,
like that.
I
Mhm.
never knew that. I always
Yeah.
thought it was just the breast thing, like
No.
like the
No,
boobs
there's-
equated to the dick. I didn't ever think about like
No, there's
different kinds of
well,
vaginas.
that's why if you compare yourself to like the porn stars, that's why women are getting that trimmed to look like the porn stars because they get theirs trimmed to look like just so it's all smooth and flat and stuff like that. I don't know.
No shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I gotta say, fake boobs are awful.
Gross, I know.
They're gross, man.
Mm-hmm. And they're hard.
Yeah. Well, you can see like
The line.
the
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
stretch lines and stuff in a certain angle. I
think
can't.
unless you had breast cancer and had to have them removed and you wanted to still feel like womanly,
Yeah.
I think that, or there are some women that don't like hormonally develop and they will have nothing. And I think
Right.
in a case like that, I'm like, yeah, you should get a little something because if I was completely like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
definitely not endowed, but like if I was like nothing, I would be like, you'd want a little something. So,
But is it really that important?
not to me.
I
feel like if a guy doesn't like
it's kind
me
of a
because-
shallow thing.
Yeah, if a guy doesn't like me because of the size of that, then I would
Right.
just have to say that
If
that's not the
somebody
guy
ca-
for me.
Yeah, if somebody can't accept me for my 2-inch penis, then
Exactly.
then you don't really like me at all.
Yeah.
But we, right?
Gosh. Okay. Yep.
So all right, we got to wrap this up.
We
Apparently,
do have
so,
to wrap this up in a really heavy part, but
Well, let's go into this direction. How do you think? Like, are you optimistic about the future, or are you terrified?
honestly, I kind of like the shake up. I kind of like I don't like the division part,
Yeah, no, me neither.
but I also kind of feel like maybe we didn't realize how much of a division there was And
I
I kind
agree.
of am thinking that maybe it's going to call people back together because like I'm having big conversations with people that I've never had before.
Really?
And yeah, and because I put myself in, I throw myself in the fire.
I know, and I
wanna
appreciate
know.
that about you.
I
really
want to
do.
know. I don't think that there's
You are a
any-
brave person.
I
Like, you're not
don't
afraid of shit.
I am not scared of much. I'm scared of. I don't like being on TV. I was in a TV show a long time ago called What's Up, Que Pasa, and it was like they brought me in as like a dancer and a choreographer, and I had to like
serious?
talk on it, and I was like, oh,
I've never heard this.
Oh my god!
Is there video of this?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. What's Up, Que Pasa, and it was with Papa Rap, who was in.
I'm gonna check this out.
Oh my gosh! Okay, you
Oh,
can.
man.
Okay, just get ready for like the most uncomfortable. It looks like a Saturday Night Live skit where they're like play, where the girl's like plastic or something. Like I was so unnatural. Like I'm so
Right.
good face to face.
Yeah.
I can talk to anybody about anything for forever, but on television, like that's one of my biggest fears, and I just decided I don't like it. And I've been on the news a couple times to promote like
Your
we have a
business or whatnot.
nonprofit and raises funds
Well,
for
what is your nonprofit?
transformation station. It's transformingnwa.com.
Well, plug it.
Okay, Transforming NWA. Actually, it's transformingnwa.org.
That's a mouthful.
And we raise funds to help kids with the arts. So like if they need a scholarship, if they are like wanting to take dance and they can't afford it, or if they're wanting to do, another art form, we give them money. So,
That's so
and it's
cool.
completely funded by our community. So, yep, it is a really cool thing. My sister and I started it. So
That's well, it's a beautiful relationship you have with your sister.
yeah.
I love what you're doing.
So, I forgot to answer your question. So I'm kind of optimistic about the future and part terrified, but I'm also like, I'm going to sit tight until I see what's really going to happen.
Well, the fear mongering is at its all-time high
It
right
is
now.
really bad.
And to be fair, you've got China surrounding Taiwan navally. You've got Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah.
You've got Gaza and
Yeah.
Israel. You've got Trump.
Yeah.
The stage is set for
Yeah.
a powder keg.
Yeah.
And so it is terrifying, but the fear mongering does not help.
I know.
And could you imagine if the media just said, "Hey guys, let's come
just-
together and
yeah.
they're
That's
so
what
evil."
I want. I
They're
wish
so
they
evil.
would. I wish they would come together. I wish it could be like that. That's my hope, is that through all of this, every time something huge and tragic happens, that's where you see, it's like Mr. Rogers says, look around, and you'll see the helpers. And that's what I think, I'm hoping is going to come out of this, is that people are going to come out more united. It is a little scary, but I also like to be optimistic and hope for the best, and hope that I wish that we had somebody with like kind of like that strength and bullheadedness of him, with just a little bit more taste, a little bit more
Right.
like professionalism, because it does come across very hateful. I don't know, I've never talked to him, so
Right.
I don't want to say that he is a hateful person, but just based off of the way that he presents himself, he does come across hateful, and I don't like that for a leader.
And I respect your opinion on that, and I
Yeah.
totally get it. However, that's one of the things I love about him.
Okay.
Like, I think we're in a position where masculinity has just been
Yeah.
demonized,
Yeah.
and now we got a guy who's speaking the fucking truth, as hard as it
Yeah.
is here.
Yeah.
This is how it is, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And like,
Well,
it's
I would
time to
speak
get
up.
down
I
to
would speak
business.
up for men just as much as I would speak up for
I
women.
know you would.
So like, because I have been blessed to have a family of the most wonderful men, and
Yeah.
all my friends are male. Like so many of my friends are male, and they
Yeah.
are so wonderful. But the whole abortion ban, all that kind of stuff. Do I wish that nobody ever had to have an abortion? Of course, abortion is horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible on a woman. It's
How many have you had?
None. But I know a lot of people that
Sure,
have had them.
I do too.
And I do not have one friend that has ever had them because they're like, oh, I'm just a giant slut and I wanted to sleep around and have a bunch of abortions.
Yeah.
That's never the case. There's always a huge underlying issue of either fear or danger
Right.
or something. And so it's like, I just wish there was a lot more, I wish that's one of my huge things with him. And also the bring prayer into the White House. I'm like, if you're going to bring prayer, bring all the prayer. I don't think that that's fair. This country was
Has he
not
said that?
founded. Oh yeah, they were after that first Oval Office meeting, he had somebody pray over it, and they
Well, I
were
knew they had a prayer at the first cabinet meeting.
yeah,
But
and
I
they
don't
were
know,
like,
that's not like a mandate that everybody has to do it.
no. And so the guy that did it was like, I'm so honored that prayer is back in the White House, and I'm just like, that's just disrespectful, because that's just your religion. So what about
Right,
you know?
right,
And
yeah.
this country was founded on, like, I love America.
Well, it's
I
founded
love
on Christian
Americans.
values.
It was founded on Christian values, and I live a Christian life.
I know you do.
But I don't. But it also was founded on the freedom of religion.
I agree.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, have these good values, believe what you want to believe.
But if
pray
Trump's
who
a
you wanna-
Christian and he wants to do a Christian prayer, if we had a Muslim president, he should have the right to do a Muslim prayer.
Do you think that would have went over well?
Well, we wouldn't elect a Muslim president to begin with.
Exactly. So I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I think that it
Yeah.
has to be fair. I just feel like it has to be fair across
Okay.
the board. So
No, I respect that.
So.
The thing with abortion, with me, obviously not something that I even care about because it's not something we would ever do. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but I understand the women's perspective of like, don't fucking touch my body with the government.
Yeah.
The same way I felt about the vaccines.
yeah.
It's like, don't fucking tell me what I need to put in my body.
Yeah.
Like, this thing's already out there.
Yeah.
People are going to get it. We got to wear masks, but we're still touching the credit card keypads. Come on,
Yeah,
bitch.
I
That doesn't
know.
make any sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of
My
stuff wrong
problem with
that.
abortion is that the man has no say
Yeah.
whatsoever. So if a man gets a girl pregnant and the girl wants to have an abortion, the man says, I'll do whatever I can. Just give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it. You won't ever have to see it again. He has no say in it.
Hmm.
And
I haven't met anybody in that situation, so I
no,
don't
it happened
know.
to me.
Okay.
And I had no rights.
Okay.
None whatsoever. My
see.
parents and I offered, we will take
Mm-hmm.
this baby. You'll never hear from us again. Nope.
See,
And-
that's why it's important to hear everybody's stories, because
Yes.
like I've never heard that story, and in my situation, it's always been quite the opposite.
And it's
is
haunted me my entire life.
See, oh, that's really sad. So that's why.
But I also understand
yeah.
you're a 17-year-old girl. You don't want to have the optics of being pregnant.
There's
right?
a lot of young girls that are raped, and they don't want to have, their
number of circumstances.
their
But
uncle's baby.
there's
and-
3 people involved,
Yeah,
and only one of them gets a vote.
yeah,
And that to me is a little fucked up. But
yeah.
I don't want to
In most
impose on
situations-
women's rights if they.
Your situation, that's really different, because most of the time, like all of my friends that have had one, I would say is it was for health reasons. Like if I was to get pregnant, I've had 2 C-sections and a reconstructions because it tore apart my belly.
Oh,
my
my
doctors
God.
told me, they went back in and stitched everything back up. If I was to have another baby, they said I'd die. So like,
Oh,
do I not have sex?
God.
Do I, so it's like I would die and I'd leave my 2 kids that I have. Would I ever want to have abortion? No, God,
Right.
no. But I do I want to leave my 2 kids I have? No.
Well, I think the Clinton policy on abortion was, what was it? It's safe and rare,
Yeah.
whatever that, I can't remember what exactly they called it, but they weren't celebrating it.
Yeah.
Now you have comedians coming out and saying, I want to have all these abortions, and
Yeah.
like
No,
I
I don't
just
think
feel like that's
nobody
nasty.
wants to
and
have
I get it because extreme causes extreme,
Yeah.
right? So you have one person do something, and then the other side has to react in an equal or opposite way, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's like this tug of who
It
can be
is-
more extreme,
yeah.
and the people in the middle are just going, "What the fuck
We just
is
want
going
some
on?"
facts. We want some fairness. We want some facts. We want to be able to just provide for our family.
Right.
That's what somebody said that was so great. Is like when it actually all boils down, we all actually just want to have a good life, provide for our families,
Right.
be able to afford that. We want to be in charge of our bodies and our lives. And most people don't want to do any harm.
Right.
And those are the things that we need to be united on, and those are the things that we all value.
Yeah.
And so that's where we should leave it.
I love
should
it.
leave it
Thanks
there.
again.
Thank you, Bradley.
This was awesome.
It was so fun.